pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, all right, so same bills. Well, we have a couple. We put it in under informal discussion because we didn't really have a chance to talk about it. Richard wants to talk about trying to write a bylaw to restrict automotive vehicles for sale dealerships. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes. I'm proposing to amend the zoning bylaw for the Village District B. That's the downtown area that basically goes from the mobile station east, that encompasses our basically historical district and all the way down to the end of the car dealership on the left. It comes up King Street to White Street and goes down towards Westford, just as far as the IBM property. That's Area B is what we call it. In 2010, we put some, we passed the residents passed in the town passed a zoning bylaw to add more uses for that area. And the only use that we've really seen come into that area so far has been an automotive use, another automotive use, with a little bit of retail. In the months since, I've been contacted by a number of people who are asking that we put some restrictions in that area to limit or prohibit the use of automotive sales in that area. And so I drafted an amendment to our Village District B bylaw, and I'd like to, for the members here, just to see if we could move this ahead, either in this form or in some amended form. And basically, it's to amend the bylaw of Area B, Village District, to prohibit the following uses: retail sales of all types of automotive uses, including autos, trucks, vans, motorcycles, recreational vehicles, retail sales of all types of automotive, of all types, let me back up. Recreational vehicles, motorized boats, off-road sporting vehicles, auto body shops, automotive part sales, automotive detailing, automotive storage of any kind, automotive car wash facilities, limousines and taxi operations and gas stations. Now what's down there right now would be grandfathered. What this proposed prohibition would do would be to eliminate the possibility that any building there could be converted to automotive sales or any of those other types. The purpose of this is to prevent large retail businesses that take up a large footprint, that services mostly out-of-town customers, that provide few jobs for town people and return little in terms of community benefit. So I propose that the board consider moving this towards the next available town meeting for a vote by the residents.
What do you guys think?
I did the same.
I like the gist of it, to be honest with you. I don't want any more car dealerships, and as far as auto parts, there's already one down there. Again, it's grandfathered. There's a body shop right down there, and you drive by on good days, you can smell, but it's not really appealing to a downtown foot trafficked area. We're trying to make the place look a little Concord-y-like, I suppose. But I like the wording is
You know, the wording.
but I like the idea.
Yeah, the wording is.
Personally.
I've offered this as a draft.
Is it too much though? I mean, I think
Too
what
restrictive?
you're trying to get mostly the big new car, like the Toyotas. You don't want another car dealership. If you took out the small little like Banks's and the people like that sell a couple of cars here and there, and as long as it's ancillary to what the primary business is, maybe it would float a little better than.
See, Banks is grandfather. I would consider Banks as grandfather.
What does that mean? If he sells his, if
Means
he sells,
he's a gas station right now, he can pump gas, or he can sell cars, or he can do any automobile.
Actually, you can't.
No, he needs,
can't say that.
he needs to renew his permit, his license all the time, and if he's supposed to somebody.
what if he sells it to his son? Does his son get to do it?
Yeah, so long as the business is there existing, I would consider it a use. And maybe we can craft the language such that the businesses that are there will be totally grandfathered.
We also
Again,
have
this
to-
is a draft. My hope is that if it goes to town council, that first of all, it gets passed as board and it goes to town council. And if there's a better bylaw out there that does the same intended purpose, that's great. I'd be interested in any
So
kind of.
no, are you open to like a carve out, de minimis size, or?
I don't, it's all about footprint. Because I'd much rather see a bakery, I'd much rather see a coffee shop than a site with 15 cars in it, all with for sale signs. I mean, we can go down to Acton to see that.
But what about?
So you want this board to basically support your proposal, but we're a regulatory board, we don't make policy.
Well, this is a zoning change amendment, so it would have to come from the board. Because
It's a
we've.
policy change.
It's his own
It's a zoning change, yeah.
Yeah, but this is driven by policy, not, regulator doesn't drive policy. You have to propose it, get everybody else to buy into it.
Well, yeah,
Then that's done to the public hearing.
we have to do public hearings.
No, I mean, if you go around all the other boards, I sign off on it. I don't think we would have, I wouldn't object to it if they wanted to do it, they do.
Yeah, so,
Well,
I just don't know what the impact is to the existing business.
so we could craft, whatever language we could craft. Right now, the existing businesses would be grandfathered, because anything that's existing right now by statute would be grandfathered.
Prohibits expansion. Is it not?
We could craft special language in this to allow expansion by special permit.
That's something to think about. Obviously, we're not gonna make fall town meeting. We're talking about the split. So, my question was, does the board wanna start working on this when we have some time after we're done with the extensive recreation, things like that, that brings up in the fall for spring town meeting?
So when you say start working on it, what do you want to do? Have somebody survey all the existing bylaws that are out there, pull together some common language?
No, I think we need to talk to other boards to see if they think it's something that, we'll talk to the selectmen, see if they wanna do it. Since they, I know, I see his hand and stuff, and see if, since they're the ones who administer the class 1, class 2 licenses in the town, see if, see if there's any support for this. Like I said, I thought it was gonna be more just for car dealerships, but now it sounds like it's all the.
It's for everything automotive.
Everything on board, we mean, from a car wash to,
Yeah, that's the email I sent to you
But
last
everything-
week, Mark.
yeah, but everything's kind of special permit now, like gas stations. Gas stations an allowed use, maybe we want another gas station to be able to come in since, we do need gas stations. And we need gas stations, don't we? How do you put gas stations?
We got-
We have more banks than gas stations, but
We
anyway.
have 3 gas
We had a
stations.
question.
Yeah,
Four.
no, just as,
Four.
you're asking for the other boards, so Ted, you said, we can have Board of Selectmen. As a resident and a member of the Board of Selectmen, I support this. I know the wording can be changed, and I think we can do that through the public process. And, about having time, I mean, this is the same timeline as the recreational bylaw. We could, I believe we can still make it for a special town meeting, and, I'd like to see that happen, and I support it.
So wait, are you guys sponsoring this?
No.
No, I just, no, we
I am
asked for,
sponsoring.
we want to hear from other boards, and
Yeah.
we're here, I'm here, so I might as well.
No, but I mean, you saying that just for yourself or on behalf of your whole board?
I'm speaking as a board member,
Oh, as a board.
myself, and as a resident.
I'm with him. I'm with him.
You with him?
I'm
You with him? There's 3,
Me too.
Oh, yeah, as a
4,
planning board member.
5, 6.
Yeah.
You probably got,
And I'm for advancing it to bringing it to the town. That's, I
I'd
think
like
it's a
to see
decision made
this
by the town.
at the fall town meeting, at least so that we could have, even if it's in a minimal language, so that we can at least get something on the books that prohibits more auto dealerships. Al?
Why don't we go do a text search and all the local, surrounding area bylaws, we'll put them all together, we'll smash up a
We can do
pro
that.
forma and then just float it.
All we were asking is if you guys wanted to go there, but we haven't done anything about researching it.
Yeah.
Myron can pull up 10.
Yeah.
I think in the past, when we've discussed this, in a previous meeting, it was mentioned it's really the scale. I was surprised to see it so pervasive, covering everything, including people who are struggling to make a living and may want to sell 1 or 2 cars on the side. I think the real issue is such a large car dealership that's so pervasive, and that's start driving everything else. What would be helpful, I think, is some provision that would put a cap on how many cars you could sell.
No, we could.
Right, and that isn't an approach you take, and I've shared this with Richard by email, but I think it's really the scale, and I think that could be managed, but I'm surprised this covers so much.
All right, we can tone it back, we can talk about it. I just wanted to see if there was support on my board and obviously from the selectmen to go forward. Because Myron, time-wise, can we get it on the fall town meeting?
I don't, if
See,
you're,
why not?
when are you gonna write the bylaw?
That's the problem. And when are we gonna advertise it and everything else?
Well, yeah, you have time to advertise it before town meeting, but the version that goes in the warrant has to be almost almost done, almost complete. You have to have a,
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
you have to have a fairly complete bylaw
By
by the
when? The
20th
20th?
of September.
the 20th of September is when the warrant closes. The selectmen's last meeting to vote to insert articles will be on Monday, the 16th of September. We would want to have town council get back to you. You've got a meeting on the 12th, right? So ideally, on the 12th of September, you should be voting the final form of whatever it is you want in the warrant.
It's a public hearing, right?
We have to advertise it.
You can have a
Well,
public,
because
you would have a public hearing later.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So we can write it.
Exact on the 20th.
But you have to have,
Doing it fast.
And then bring it forward.
I'll make it happen.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, what I'll do,
We don't.
if need be,
We can do that.
I'll do the research. I'll work with town council to try to polish it up and have something ready for the 12th.
So the only thing I would add to that is, by doing it this fast, you're not affording any of the business owners an opportunity to do any research and talk about the impact to their economics. So, I mean, just to be fair, if you're gonna fast track a rule change, you should at least do it equitably.
Another way of doing it is doing it by phases. If the concern is selling a lot of cars, you could just deal with selling cars and limit it to 25 for a starter, and that would solve the big.
Well, come on, we're not gonna debate.
No, I'm saying you can do it in steps.
Well, we're only gonna-
Do something
I
initially
think-
that addresses the main
You know, I
problem,
think you
and
bring
then
up a
come
good
back
point.
and
You
renovate
know,
later if you want to.
Everybody should have their say in this matter. For us to do it without any input from the people that live in the common that derive their income from the automotive trade.
Is that what the public hearing process is for?
Yeah, but you're giving them one shot,
Yeah,
come
you
on.
already have the meeting, you already have the bylaw written.
One more question, could this be done by just removing the use from the use table? Without doing another bylaw, would that be faster or more efficient? I don't know.
Well, let me,
That's just my
what's the,
suggestion.
why are you so in a rush to get this off?
Because there's properties in there that may change, all right, you wanna know? Straight-
Yeah, I know why. I want you to
Here's what
say it.
Okay, you want me to say it?
Say it
Okay.
publicly.
There's a chance that Donald's will be moving out of town at some point. That big lot comes up, I believe it's owned by Bob Moran, who owns a Toyota dealership. Do we want him coming in and putting a Chevy dealership across the street just as big?
no,
That's what I said.
sorry.
And what's the impetus for that fear?
That Donald's is going out of business?
Yeah.
Oh, market basket. You wanna say it? I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
say it. Just
Everyone
say it
else is
all.
saying it behind doors, so I'll say it out, say it
Yeah.
out there.
That's what I'm getting from the different people.
But
I
that's
talked
a,
to.
that's a knee-jerk reaction to something that hasn't occurred.
It is foresight also.
I'm just pointing out,
I'm sorry,
I'm just pointing
Richard, I'm
out.
sorry, I didn't get the point, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, to me,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's a little skittish to project that far in the future when, A, you don't know for a fact that Market Basket's own problems right now. They have an internal board war. So depending on which cousin wins, it could go one way or the other. So I'm just pointing out that
It's,
none of this is set in stone, and if you do something in the bylaw, right, that it damages those businesses, I mean, that would be existing businesses, I'm not talking about.
See, but that's the point. That's what a zoning bylaw change won't do. It will grandfather all businesses that are operating under that, under whatever
To-
purposes they
to
have.
some
Choose to what, I mean, that's my point, is
And-
you'd have to work all that out.
That can be done mechanically through the.
No, I'm not asking you to solve it, I'm just saying, that's something you have to consider to be fair to those businesses.
I would absolutely not want to stop or hinder in any way a business that's there right now.
I mean, I'm just, me personally, I wouldn't wanna take food out of somebody's mouth, right? I mean, it's just
Well, if we
not.
see any way that it does, if we can.
So I think
talk
we're
about it.
both on.
No, we don't have to debate it here.
We're both on the same
Those are
page.
I'm just trying to decide if it's fair to try to rush something through without even talking to the resident, to the businesses in town that are generally affected by this.
If there is a commitment from the board to bring this at Springtown meeting, if we can get it on the record that you will investigate this, you will allow it, and Springtown meeting, I don't see a reason to
Why don't we
rush
do
to
it
a
that way?
special.
'Cause no one's-
That's my opinion, but I just really.
I think that would
like
make more
see it looked
sense
at. I don't know
to,
what.
rather than rush it through,
Fair.
give everybody.
So what happens if we, just out of curiosity, let's say we delay it till spring, and Market Basket definitely flies their flag over the Sam Park project, and Donald's decides to pack his bags and fly south.
Then
You
we,
mean between now and spring?
Spring? Sure.
Well, all it takes is a signature on a purchase and sales agreement, and says it's, Moran owns it,
and then guess what?
and then he's a grandfather, ain't he?
He could do it right now if he wanted to, if he got a
Donald's and, right, if they're
Right.
already in the bed, they could already do it.
Before November, they could file a
Yeah.
preliminary, it shows a car dealership on it.
Yeah.
And once they did that, then you would be,
Now, Jerry said knee-jerk reaction. Sometimes, kicking with the knee and planning ahead is what we're actually trying to do
See,
here.
what I'm trying
I'm
to
just,
do.
listen, I'm
I
not.
like your
I'm-
suggestion.
I'm
I
just
like,
pointing
I
it
like
out.
the backing of the board. Does the population, how do you all feel about this type of an idea?
I think, well, I'll be the one to say it. When we first moved here, I thought Littleton was a great, farming community. It was really beautiful. There was just so much, and suddenly there's all these car dealerships. I mean, I hate to be the person to point it out, but Littleton's turning into a white trash community, with all of these car things.
when I moved here, there were 3 car dealerships in Littleton.
But they weren't as big
They weren't
and
big.
dominating.
Small back then.
All
There's
those-
one car dealership in Littleton.
I
But
think,
you want the whole strip to be cars,
Well, the
sides?
alternative that I suggested, if you want to do something
Or a mile
immediate,
east.
then
Or a mile west, I
prevent a
guess.
large car dealership from coming in, scale it at 25. which would
25
not-
cars.
Well, let me finish.
Sitting.
That would not make it affordable for anyone to come in, but it would allow some of the small shops that, might want to sell a car or two on the side to do that. It doesn't put the small guy at disadvantage, it keeps out the big guy, and then you can research it and refine it for the springtime.
Do the selectmen have a limit as to how many cars are allowed in their licenses that they're issuing now? Like the one that,
Right, the state cutoff for class 1 and class 2 is 7 vehicles for class 2. And then the only class 1 permit in town is Acton Toyota.
so
That's
anybody
more than
like,
7
they can only sell 7 as it is now.
a year.
Right, so you can restrict it now anyway. Except, so all the little gas stations can only sell 7 cars.
They can do it another way. You can sell your personal vehicle up to a certain number. I thought it was 3 personal vehicles and not fall under,
But look,
Actually,
I just don't,
however-
I just don't think I think we should craft the bylaw, if that's what they're asking for, we should craft it, at least 2 versions that float, and see what the town wants to do with it.
I hate doing it in a rushed fashion.
I don't wanna rush it either, I don't think it's right.
I think we should wait till Springtown meeting, I really do, so that we get it.
I mean, he brings up a great fear, I guess, so is there a chance that we file something now, and then, we can take our time and get a revision and do it in the spring again? Is that possible? I don't know if that's.
the reason I bring this forward now, in the hopes that I can get it to fall town meeting, is because in 3 years' time, since we added more uses, the only use we've seen go into that area is an automotive use, and it's taken up most of the footprint of that lot.
But you're linking cause and
Now-
effect from 2008 to now on the
2010.
business demographics of Littleton?
2010. And frankly, I ran for this board only because the Toyota dealership ended up being in town. And I thought it was just a travesty to see our town destroyed by so many non-community oriented uses, that I ran for this board to see if we could help craft a better downtown area, that's what the zoning restrictions in Area B were all about. And when we did that, we either forgot to, or we just didn't add some prohibited uses. And now, I'd like to add those prohibited uses and get them in before town meeting in the fall. I'd like to prohibit the use of, for selling autos, trucks, vans, motorcycles, recreational vehicles, boats, off-road vehicles, anything that's going to take up a large footprint and return very little to the community. We could use a bakery, we could use a coffee shop, we could use a small retail business.
A good restaurant.
Coffee shops. You're for,
It's better than a car dealership.
Yeah.
But
We already have those things down
Better
there.
than
Where's the
another car
bakery?
dealership.
So my-
fine.
They bought the bakery and swallowed it into their
Different
shop.
bakeries over one car dealership.
Donlands?
Donovan's bought the
That's not a
bakery.
bakery, that's a grocery store.
They
Wait,
paid
wait,
the
wait,
that
we're
was
going,
fine.
we're running way too late on
All right,
it.
so my hope is
No,
that
no, I mean,
the
I just,
board
I
will
love these
support.
comments. It's
Dunkin'
just-
Donuts doesn't
Yeah,
count as a
Dunkin'
coffee
Donuts
shop.
doesn't count as a
Yeah.
grocery shop.
My hope is that the board will support some
Let's pull the board, I think,
some rule,
I'd rather do it right
something
than
for
rather
the
do it
fall
in the
town
spring.
meeting.
I'd rather do it in the spring. Who wants to,
I'd rather do it now.
I think we should do it now.
That was my words.
Yeah,
Who's
the
next?
scaled down version, and if it's too pervasive, do it in the spring.
Environmentalist.
well, it's either now or the spring.
Yeah, so
Look,
why not bring
I-
some,
you know,
why not look at
To get something now, I would go with the scaled down version that we can modify for the spring.
Okay.
At the,
That I
say,
could back.
at the
if
say
it's that
7-car
prohibited.
limit. But,
Okay,
but all these other uses, the vans, the motorcycles, the recreational vehicles,
You have skin in the
rolled
game.
into the same bylaw.
But you could research it more for spring.
And the bylaw to include the very specific language on grandfathering and special permit if those grandfather places want.
so tomorrow
Then
when,
we're going on
Donlin
spring
brings in a site plan for a car dealership, to block in his
No,
zoning.
that's the subdivision.
Something, yeah, it's still good. Anyway, all right, so we'll work on it, you're gonna get us a rough draft for the 12th.
What do you say now? Is that what you voted for?
You and I are the only ones who wanted to wait till the spring, though, the others.
No, he said spring.
No, he
No,
said
I said,
now.
if
Scaled
it's a
down.
scaled down version,
Oh,
that
so you
would
wanna
not
vote
hurt
now?
small guys, I could go
So
with that.
3-2,
But it's a
you
matter
win.
of what you bring
Vote
in.
now.
All right, we'll move forward.
So give us,
Let's see what it looks like.
With Maren's help and maybe Keith's help, we can get something crafted for,
We can have town council look at something in time for you to vote on
Right.
September.
that's great.
12th.
Thank you, Maren.
Thank you,
so
gentlemen.
we have a 7:15,
Um,
He's not gonna be here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we've got the tree warden and the stone wall warden and whatever other hat you wear there, so.
Just for Brewster, is that for that driveway?
Yeah, this is for the driveway.
Changing the sides.
He's gonna turn the rock walls in like we asked for on all the other ones, right? How many trees gotta go?
The public street trees. Okay, the applicant can't be here. We've already approved one special permit for scenic roadway for this site. He wants to move the driveway over as shown on the reference plans.
Okay.
He indicated to us that he talked to Mr. Keisha, and Mr. Keisha was fine with the new location after he understood what the drainage would do. The only recommendation, two questions. Do you want him to clear out the shrubs that are in front of the existing stone walls to expose the stone wall?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
no.
because that was,
Kill a lot of bushes.
Don't you wanna see the stone walls, isn't that
That's
what?
natural heritage, that stuff grew up there, you know, just because a guy, farmer put a stone wall in there 300 years ago, I don't, you know, and then stuff grew up around it, I'm not sure you should
Do we know what it
cut
looks
that
like?
out of the way.
Is it
Stone wall,
is
really
it good or is it junk?
it's the same site that you looked at
Yeah, I've seen this before.
a month ago.
Yeah.
Jimmy, is it
What's
any
the
good or
rest
is
of
it
it?
Try to
junk?
grow and live.
What was the
You
question?
can't, you can't.
What
really see
does the
stone.
rest of it look like? Are the exposed, stone walls exposed? I mean, it's supposed to be scenic, is it that compatible? I have no idea, I've looked at it a long
What, is a
time.
rock more scenic than a bush?
Is it bushes or is it
No,
junk?
it's overgrown,
Jimmy?
Jimmy.
Well, I'm waiting for you guys to stop talking. I'm
All right.
not gonna talk
All right.
over everyone else.
Go ahead. Tell us what it is.
there's exposed stone walls on a lot of the wall, I mean, a lot of the roads. In this particular property, it has a bunch of saplings that are 1 inch, inch and a half. They're all basically maple trees under the wires in that section. If he puts a driveway in, he's gonna have to remove some of them so he can have some sight distance, or it's just gonna create a big problem. There's really nothing of value in front of the wall. There's a lot of small, I mean, they're 6 or 8 inches apart. There's a ton of small trees. So they're choking each other out, and he's basically swapping sides because when he redesigned or had to put his house in, it was too steep, so he had to lengthen the driveway and he had to go in on the other side.
So it's not nice roadies right there, it's just basically
It's all sapling maple.
solid mountain.
Yes, well, why is this coming up now? From reading the application, I didn't see this, it said no trees are being removed. I mean, had I known this, I would have gone out there and looked at it.
Right, the bylaw only covers the public street trees, and those are over 1.5 inches
Yeah, I mean,
diameter. Anything
there's
under that
probably
is
some that are over
not
inch and a
in
half, but
jurisdiction.
most
Yeah.
of them are small.
But it's hard getting a sense of it, is what I'm saying, with no images or, you know. So, I mean, it's the best guess, what do the neighbors say? I mean, it's,
Mr. Keyser's here, I think, he's spoken to the applicant. This is what we basically approved before, he's going from this side of the driveway, I mean, the lot to the other side.
and the same treatment with exposing stone walls. I'm just trying to look for consistency, you know.
We like to see the walls.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying to have them rebuilt, and that's why we're doing the scenic
I
road.
mean, I just don't want to be surprised that all of a sudden tomorrow someone gets upset because,
Mr. Keyser, do you have an issue with taking the little saplings in front of the trees, showing the stone wall?
I couldn't care. When it was originally mapped out, it was closer to the middle where my mailbox is. And I thought it would be a good way to get up there. But there was a problem because there is this drain,
Rain swell.
well, after somebody removed the pine needles and this other stuff, they found out there was a big thing like this that goes down, so he had to move it. But I am not satisfied, although I'll accept it, where he's moving the driveway. I think there's a better spot, and I have said that to him. And that's because you have Lowry Lane coming up onto Bruce Street. You have my driveway, which is only a few feet, probably 5 feet away from Lowry Lane, but also entrances on it. And I understand that Deer Path Realty, according to this, has a slice of land that comes down, which would be opposite the Lowry Lane, and then he's coming opposite my driveway. And so I asked him, I said if he could move the driveway because that is a steep area. In other words, it was opposite my driveway. And I said, all the water that's going to come down over there is going to go wash across the street. There is no septic, or whatever you want to call it. A catch basin there, which means it's going to come across the street and it's going to come down, you know, onto where I have a well that is protected.
But this is, he's got a drainage
I don't want to lose the
swell.
well. The well was told that I could not use it for home, but I could use it for animals. And I do have sheep and cows and stuff like that that I use. And there is already sand and salt that comes down, but we scoop it out every spring. And everything. But I'm looking at so much traffic being right there. And I think that the highway department, I know they have problems with the snow when they plow, because there is a stone wall, probably 6 feet, that runs right opposite, and they have to, you know, they plow, there's no place to put it. We've already plowed a lot of my stone wall around, and it has to be removed. And now you're gonna have another driveway come up there, there's gonna be a lot of traffic coming in that same area.
What's the distance between the road edge and the stone wall? I mean, just trying to get a sense of what we're trying to decide without information.
About 8 or 9 feet, you can scale it off your plan. I mean, I didn't go measure it.
Yeah, what if you consult with the tree committee and get their opinion? Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid
It's not their
making,
responsibility.
no, but they would have some opinion and they could, I mean, we have no
It's-
information.
Technically, it's not their
It's
jurisdiction.
not, their saplings, it's not.
No, but they
Technically,
have, they have some knowledge and expertise, and they're landscape designers,
No, we're here.
landscape architect. I mean, we don't know what we're
How
deciding.
about if you ask him? I personally, I don't, it's not bothering me, and you approved an A&R lot for him to build. He wants to build a house, and you gave him the authority to build the house by approving an A&R lot. He needs access to his lot, and that's the safest way to do it. If you cut the trees down, it's gonna be safer for them to access. Mr. Kiesel, worried about his water, we have Crown in the road with the new road. The water is not gonna cross the street onto Mr. Kiesel's side.
Fine. Does the board have any problem with rebuilding stone walls here and letting
No.
the owner take out the saplings in front of the stone walls?
No,
I'll entertain a motion to approve the scenic roadway modification as it is in front of us for this lot in Blue Street.
Second.
So all in favor?
Aye.
The next time, it'd be nice to have information, know that we have to decide something.
Why is that my job?
Okay.
He's the applicant, let him bring it in. If you didn't want it,
Sure.
tell him don't.
Well, fine,
Tell
I'm
them to
not
bring the
angry,
stuff
I'm
in.
just saying that it's hard
You're putting the burden on me, and I'm not taking it.
Well, you've been there, you've seen it, so I'm trying to understand,
Why couldn't you drive out there and look at it if you wanted to see
because
it?
I didn't realize that was gonna be posed to us as a question. That's why. I don't have the information, I didn't have the question.
There's saplings, for God's sake.
Yeah, I mean, for changing driveway, it seems to be no issue, I have no problem with that.
Okay,
Good night.
7:30 for all this discussion. 3:30 King Street.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, James. Why are you taking such a minute? There's saplings. They're in front of us. Then if you thought it was an issue, you should have gone out and taken a look at it. Anyway,
Good evening, my name is Matthew Bombasi, I'm with GPR Civil Engineering. I think you guys have met with the church once before, but I'm here to follow up on some of the discussions they had and the methodology we want to go. Just to recap, everybody of the site, it's the church at 330 King Street, Littleton Congregational. They're looking at, firstly, a parking expansion, or at least a modification with a little additional impervious area, because right now they have a parking demand problem. Then they're also looking, they're renovating the interior of the church and then maybe doing some additions, although they're still working out the logistics with that. The site is within the Water Resource and Aquifer Protection Districts, and it's currently at 44% impervious. In the Aquifer Protection District, you're allowed up to 30%. They've spoken with the neighbor, Craig Roskowski, about potentially helping them out with their impervious situation, and he said that he's happy to help. What he said he's willing to do is he's willing to grant an easement on his property to whatever they need for their new plan. And he expressed interest that he didn't want to give away more than he really needed to, just the minimum, but he is willing to grant an easement. So I think you guys have seen this concept plan before, but for the proposed concept, which is kind of a work in progress, that we're talking about a 16,000 square foot easement would be basically this small rectangle right here to make that work. We've spoken with Savastanos at the Water Department regarding the Aquifer Protection District. And he is in favor of the easement and I guess ultimately a special permit, which would be ultimately requesting. And essentially, I guess my purpose here tonight is just to basically feel it out and just kind of get maybe an informal head nod that you agree with the methodology and that, you know, if they come in for a special permit.
why don't you just come in with a new site plan that shows the easement on there, and we'll be good with that.
I don't
Right,
think,
they're just going to apply for the Aquifer District special permit.
But just show, the new plan should reflect the easement area, and then so we're dealing with the same thing all the time.
yeah, we've already
Yeah,
seen
we-
these options early on, so
Yeah, I
and
get
we didn't have any issue with them back then either.
Okay, good, yeah, I think just the purpose for us coming in tonight is we haven't started the design process yet, and just to make sure we get kicking on that you guys agree with the easement.
Just, just
Absolutely,
from
yeah,
now
sure.
on, just show
Yeah.
it to us.
Yep, that's no
Some
problem.
sort of have it written up so that, you know, it's gotta be, obviously it's gonna have to be a deed, an issue with the deed, so we'll need to see the verbiage for that too.
Yeah, we'll be doing a site plan and a special permit
Okay.
for that.
That's it, I don't have, and we don't have any problem with this at all.
Awesome, excellent.
Anyone else have any questions?
I think it's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect, that's easy, thank you very much.
I'm setting that thing up.
Oh, every time I go to a meeting. so.
Is Mr. Moran actually here? No.
We skipped over the minutes for July 18th.
Oh, that's important. We'll wait past that. You want to do that for 2 minutes? while we wait to see?
You've got 2 minutes.
Anybody? Take a look at the minutes. Tracy, do you have any issue with the minutes?
I do not.
Don? Do you have
I
any-
did attend, but I did cite some typos, though, minor.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for the July 18th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Is that going to be amended with Don's typo
It's
corrections?
a typo, it's a minor thing.
Okay.
One of those that was left out.
All right, what's next?
Now we have a couple of minutes. We have 3 more minutes we could have fought with. Wow. Is Mr. Moran actually coming, or are we going to discuss what's over there?
I have no idea if somebody's coming or not. I haven't heard.
Okay. So he wants to, well, I'll wait till 7:40, just in case he does show up.
Who's,
7:40.
somebody doing it?
Huh?
7:40.
Do we have bills,
Appoint
payroll, et cetera?
Well, we've already done
Was
it.
there
Oh, okay.
Bill, mail, all that, we did all that stuff. We're efficient, yes.
Site modification.
9 and 10 were the ones.
Is Roland Bernie over in here? I thought I saw him. Do you have a set of prints to this building that's on 221 Great Road by any chance?
That's Bob Moran's building.
Yeah. Does the second floor have 500 and, let's see, where is it? Because this drawing here shows it's got dormers that are actually walkout-inable. These, what they built did not. And I'm wondering if it is actually 2,500 square feet of retail space on the second floor there?
This is the new building.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can look at it. Offhand, I can't tell you. Is that something you wanted to look at?
Yeah, well, by looking at the, what we were always proposed, by, seeing these drawings here, they don't really match up with the building that's standing there.
What I'll do is I'll get together with Mara.
It didn't surprise me.
What you have in your hand, and I'll take a walk out there.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Anyway, so we, I guess Mr. Moran is going to be there. He wanted to show us samples of what he wanted for the exteriors. And,
Well, he's not here, do we need to address it, or we can just go right by it? Want to make another appointment where he can show up?
Well, he's been approved for handy.
A hardy plank or a natural cedar?
He could put anything he
Exactly.
wants on it.
No, he can't.
No, we have to,
Special permit. Oh, yeah.
this is a protected area. This has design standards, and you have to match the existing.
We already had this discussion when he came in front of
In
us,
area
he
B.
said hardy plank or cedar, and the corners were gonna be
There's
5/4, the
no
windows were
vinyl
gonna be
in there.
5/4.
In any case, Moran's drawings were approved with specific siding listed on it.
They want to put
We
hardy
said
plank.
copper on, that's what we do.
Copper.
Hardly plank, fiber,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
not
cement.
vinyl siding.
No,
It's not, okay.
You could use the hardy plank as a cement things,
Yeah.
because it's virtually identical to get right next to it, or cedar. But he originally said cedar, he also said 5/4 on the corner boards, 5/4 on all the windows,
Okay.
so
Exactly.
not that.
Okay. So, Thomas Moran asked, the board has decided that he has to build it as per what was proposed.
As proposed and in conjunction with the design standards for the district.
You gotta be careful with that statement. I'd leave that one off.
He proposed cement siding.
I'd leave that portion of it off.
I don't know what he's talking about.
What are you talking about?
He's talking about these up here.
I know. What's that?
Rich,
Yeah.
the siding that's proposed is in compliance with the district. What you have on your plan there on the front says clapboard. So
Says
those,
copper.
The bylaw,
Right.
Maren, reads that it has to match in terms of materials. And that's not the same as the materials that are anywhere in that, found anywhere in that district.
But you specifically do allow this type, so I'm asking for some more clarification on exactly what you want, because
I personally would want to see cedar or clapboards to match what's down there.
Match what's down there, what?
The rest of the buildings, for instance, the
buildings?
bank right up the street next to bank.
What about the Toyota dealership?
That's ethos.
That's stucco, and that's an accepted material.
Stuff, I know.
Yeah, but he didn't come in with
What
stucco.
about the bank's automotive shop? That's brick.
And that's also grandfathered.
You say what's down there.
Down there, yeah.
Down there what?
He's trying to say he doesn't want vinyl siding.
I didn't just say you don't want vinyl siding. Jesus.
All right, so he has to use either cement siding or wood siding up there, and keep it in accordance with what he proposed when he came before us.
You sure we the planner didn't have a walkout dormer?
Pardon?
You sure we approved the planner had a walkout dormers?
No, but see, this is what's ticking me off about some of these things. They give you an artist's conception, this is what we're looking at. All right?
Right.
So you assume that, ASS,
It's not a
UME.
walkout.
No, you assume that they are.
That it is walkout. That's what you're.
That's what, by the looks of this, I would see that there'd be, a large window in here, and you'd be able to see some of, whatever they put up there. When they framed it, the rafters go straight down, there's just a false
It's a false front.
gabled front on it, and they're probably gonna do what they do over at,
What you talking about, this?
Willis? Yes, because that's what shows me that they're full dormers, they're walk-in dormers. And that's not what they built.
That's not what they built.
That is not what they built.
All right, we're on to,
But again, we see these, and then when the prints come into to Roland, I think we ought to see what they give to Roland and to come back to us. So
Because it changes the square footage.
it changes the square footage, it's also
it
on
actually
this,
makes it smaller.
Does make it
it
smaller.
makes the second floor smaller, and the retail, where's it saying that, how much, it said so much for 6,000 for automotive detailing and 5,000
That's what
for,
he said, yeah.
let's see if there's 5,000 feet still.
No, there's 58 according to this, there's 3,000 on the first floor and 2,800 on the second.
Yeah,
He says 55 on 2 floors.
and what's it say for automotive?
6,314 square feet.
Let's see how close they come.
4,500.
Yeah, that's, okay, all right, we still got a couple of minutes, right? Is anyone here from the point? Oh, yeah. Okay. I gotta wait a couple of minutes. Well, actually, what, I'm not so sorry. It's only a lot line relation. When are we gonna see steel down rather than lot line relations?
Next week?
No, really.
Oh, no, I take that back. 2 weeks.
Said that 3 months ago.
Well, they'll, I was told today, September 3rd, maybe September 4th.
Yeah.
And they'll be starting to go to the next building, foundation, within the same 2 weeks.
So the next,
The next building, no, building B, yeah, the second building.
now why don't you tell us why we're looking at this?
Sure. This is just, if you recall, we did one a little bit earlier, adjusting to doing a major adjustment for all of the newer buildings, and this one is just, we needed a couple more little tweaks around the building A and B, just to make sure that we hit that zero right on the wall. After they built the foundation, just wanted to make sure it was right where it was, so. Just know.
So this is actually pushing that lot line closer to the wall, is that what you're trying to do? This top one up there, what are you doing first?
Yeah, you can see actually on these plans now at this point, these were made after the building A foundation is in. So we just to make sure we're zero on the zero lot line, the lot line is placed right on the foundation wall.
Board, have any questions?
I just
Is
curious.
there an updated tenant list yet?
He found out he's got steel.
He does not. Well, he might. I'm more of a technical guy, and he did say he wants to come in September and
Tell us,
tell us what's going
Bill's
on,
guts.
so.
tell us who's gonna be on the little
I
sign
was
outside.
curious why it's going to
Yeah.
land court. Is that because it's been recorded and you have to adjust it?
Yeah, every time we touch something on this property, I think it's got to go through land court because
Then becomes registered land?
it's already registered lands, and so anytime we touch it, it's got to go back through there and be adjusted. Which they like to do that process before we bring it to the town to endorse. So.
Lawyer job security.
Right.
Board have any questions? Peter?
I see it as a minor modification.
I don't dead right now. I'll entertain a motion to approve
I'll second that.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
You guys sign those over there, or do you want copies of this?
You know, when you do
Those are all
this,
from Aaron, so
Just,
you do this little tiny thing here, this, why don't you just make one instead of killing all these trees to make all these prints?
Go big.
make one what? One.
Look at all the
Yeah.
trees that got died.
So we'll,
Hemp.
not just in the
Hemp.
black area. Just in the black area.
You got to complain to Mary. She told me she needed this many sets.
Are we signing the papers or just the Mylar?
Just, if you wouldn't mind doing one set of the papers. Thank you.
The block, the signature block.
Oh, that's why I was looking for.
You know, we could save those and give them to the second and third graders and stuff for drawing on the pads.
So, you said you expected?
Yeah, maybe that's one.
You know, it's kind
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Do you want this back your way, or what do we do? Oh, do we roll it up for you? He gets those, right? Yep. Wow.
machine.
Bureaucratic machine.
I want to know what.
These are just get recorded.
Yeah, you can lower it up now. Lower it up, let's go. Yeah.
Chris. Oh, we have. We haven't seen Chris in a while. So that's a very good.
Other side, though, right side, there's a couple minutes, should we? Start it, or do you want to? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got going on? It's just here for the children.
I'm just staying until past the agenda time, the off chance something shows up and explains.
What do you want to talk about? Want filler? Sure, you got any filler?
It's Quill.
Just to maybe talk about the timetable for a special town meeting, just kind of sort of frame for later discussion. that, are you planning to have, what's your preferred time to have your public hearings?
On which one?
On either, in case of, I think what the answer will have to be on the one that you just asked council. Would be, you won't get that one until, that from the selectmen until the 16th of September. We'll do it on the 12th. They'll vote to refer to you on the 16th, and then you'll have a hearing after that. Like three or 4 weeks after. Are you planning on doing, did you want to do the hearing on this, sense of recreation sooner than that, or on the same sort of time frame?
You want to try to do them all?
Well, I sent the notice to the newspaper to do this one on the extensive recreation on the 12th, but I can pull that.
Yeah. The issue would be that the selectmen would need to vote tonight to refer, you'd have to vote to refer to them, and they need to then vote to refer.
Right.
If you're, you can do it by the exception of 8 o'clock, but you don't would have starting,
I always thought that the referral was not, back and forth was not necessary, if it was start if and only if it was started.
But we don't have an article yet. Are we going to finalize, I guess the question is,
We're not going to find out.
intention of finalizing, what's your time to just finalize?
We have to have public hearings to get all the wording down and everything else like that.
So, I don't know, that's a question. The one thing we want to avoid is having the plan fall apart on the town meeting floor because the article is posted is so different than what the president is.
So we have to have a meeting on the 12th, absolutely. So we should keep that.
On this, which one?
Extensive recreation.
When you weren't here, we also agreed to move another article forward. Giving you more work.
All right, so we keep it on the 12th. We hopefully fine tune it. You need it by the 20th?
Well, if you fine tune it on the 12th, it sounds like you can still get it to the selectmen on the 20th. And the only thing that I would want to maximize is whatever it is you're recommending, if you need to floor, I would like to actually have it in the warrant. So if you're going to finalize, let's say on the 12th, and then get it to us, and we will put
Passing out one sheet.
I'm sharing them.
So why don't we'll leave it on the 12th, and we're gonna give us a bunch of time for the 12th, so maybe that's all we really have. Maybe.
Put it on at the end, you've got a couple other things.
All right, so we'll do that, Keith, we'll get it to you in as finished form as we can for your meeting on the 20th.
Yeah, our meeting's on the 16th, but
16th.
finalized, yeah.
All right.
Is that, so we'll work on that time frame.
Now, the only monkey wrench in that work is I'm not gonna be around on the 12th, and I'm the proposer of the bill. Maybe.
No, we're talking about the other one, not the extensive recreation one.
Yeah.
We need for the 12th. Well, then that begs, what's that do to the automotive one? If we're gonna try to do, are we gonna try to do the same thing for you for the automotive restriction that we just talked about? How are we gonna get that to you for the 16th?
Well, because you're going to meet on, you're saying you're suddenly not meeting on it?
We are meeting,
Yeah, you're meeting
Richard
on the
won't be here
12th.
for the 12th.
So on the 12th, you will finalize, you will need to finalize, whoever's here, you need to finalize what you want in the warrant. And then that will go forward.
So we're gonna do them both.
Even though it'll be a 2-2 vote.
Red Sox need me.
Oh, no, it was just whether we're gonna talk. You mean as far as whether we not voting
Munchies and
No, I don't think we, I don't allow any agreement. It's not really that, it's just a question of whether we want to do that. I don't think, I think we're all,
Yeah, so you have to vote on, it's important that you vote on the 12th, what form you want them to propose that the zoning board in.
Okay.
So we will put that on the warrant.
so we're gonna vote
You voted on the
Wow,
12th for the selectmen's meeting.
Okay,
It's extensive.
Thank you, Pete, for explaining.
We're just talking about this too. That as well.
Finger pointing on the.
Very good.
This one they announce it, so they can leave it. We still have time? No. Ow! We have a little decorum here, I mean.
Oh, we said we were on a break.
We're not, what are we going off for the football team again? We're throwing candy at people?
Oh, we did that in gym.
Thank you, Santa Claus.
No, we're,
Try to be a little more professional. Yeah, it's one thing to do that.
what's the difference between 3 feet and 30?
What happens if you
Couple
get
of tenths. Got somebody in the eye?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all funny till someone gets shot, huh?
That's right.
Oh, well, okay.
So. But, We're still fighting.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why no more?
Why is that? They're good, better, and different.
Oh, what? Whether it's good.
How are they moving? How can they fight over?
It's good. What goes with it is. That's their discretion? No, we're fighting.
You want some of these?
Well, not covered.
Do you want one of mine?
You sent home.
You're not gonna read different drafts. One is comments and one is the draft that we're working on August 15th.
Which ones did we, ones that was on Monster Seat, the ball came out? Yeah, there were two.
I'm gonna make quite a few copies for.
Okay, yeah, there are. For those of you who want to grab copies of what we're gonna be discussing this evening, there's a limited amount of copies up there if you want to take an extra and follow with us. Not that we're gonna get into great detail, I think we're gonna do more of an overview and speak amongst the boards and.
No.
Try to find out.
Is it? Oh, I have that. This is what?
That's the agenda, that's the agenda, you don't want to. You want the ones that you want.
I already have that.
I just want this. I just want to see. I have that, thank you.
What do you got for other places? Those two and.
Sorry, I printed
Complete Streets Policy, MAPC. MAPC will be in and do a short presentation and get your input on if that's a policy that the town wants to follow. And then follow up at spring town meeting for that. Fire chief will be in to give you an update on the current design, well, not design, the current sketches for the fire station. And then we did a public hearing, an extensive recommendation and approved the bylaw.
All right, thank you all for coming in. It's close enough to 8. We have an 8 o'clock joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen and the zoning bylaw working group. And the Agricultural Committee and Conservation Committee are also here. We've worked all summer long to come up with a draft or a working draft of the modifications that we were all talking about to the extensive recreation bylaw that we have in the town now. And myself and Peter and Jenna and Ted met with representatives from the Fletchers, with Doug Duchesne and his office, and we've come up with,
And the commission,
and what?
and the Ag Commission.
And the Agricultural Commission and Marvin, and we've run it by, a little bit by town council. He's given us his 2 cents worth, and we'd like to talk a little bit about it tonight, just in general terms, so that we can have public hearings on this and see what the townspeople think.
Have the selectmen.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to open that meeting, call
All right.
themselves to order.
Okay.
Which I think they just.
You get a call.
Call us to order.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Agricultural Commission to order.
All here. Hail, hail the Kings, all here. All right, so,
Chris had, I'm sorry.
yeah, why don't you start? Since you
Thank you. I've taken a quick run through the draft that currently exists. I think it's in pretty good shape and obviously reflects a lot of the hard work by everybody who's been working on it. I made a bunch of specific comments, which I can I made a couple of proposed changes, which I think have already been incorporated in the draft. I raised a couple of questions, which were sort of meant to be kicked back to everyone involved, sort of make points, which I sort of said, this isn't necessarily perfectly clear to me. I just want to make sure I understand what the desired outcome is. So a bunch of my comments are really more questions back for further discussion. So we can go through them if you'd like. I think before we get into the specific comments that I raised, I think the one sort of the broadest question I have, or not question, but observation really, is that the bylaw as it's currently drafted, to me, seems very flexible. That may be what everyone desired, but one thing that I see when I look at it is, it seems to me it could lead to a range of different outcomes in terms of what a site might look like. The bylaw has a distinction from 70% of a lot, which needs to be sort of set aside for public purposes, and there's another 30% that's set aside for other kinds of development. The 70% set aside could be devoted to any number of different things, which range from agriculture to conservation to town-based active recreation, which might look quite different from conservation or agriculture, and in fact might, as we sort of define things, might look somewhat similar to what's being done on the other 30% of the lot. So we might have ball fields on one side and more ball fields on the other. We might have a hotel on one side and agriculture on the other. So if that flexibility is something that everybody wants to embrace, then that's not a concern. It's just the way things might work out. But I would say that if there's something that people want these kinds of developments to be more focused towards, that might be something to think about as we go forward.
maybe we should kind of give a brief overview of what
that's what
we're
I
talking about. I just assumed that we all knew, and so maybe I'll just kind of go quickly over what we've been working on for the past couple of months. And I apologize, I should have done that right after that. Basically, what the selectmen and the planning board and the representatives from the Fletchers and town council and Maren and I worked on was to come up with a different way to have some commercial components on the large tracts of land, over 30 acres in the town, that also left the town, that left the open space, the vistas that we've all come to know and love and everything else. So we have one set of criteria which says that if you're gonna, and we'll take 100 acres, because we all went to Littleton High School and 100's an easy one to figure out. If you have 100 acres of land, 70% has to be left in its natural state, and 30% can be further developed with a retail and a extensive recreation component on it. And then we also had another scenario, because one of the things we looked at and we didn't really address was, what happens if someone comes in and wants to put just a recreational component, an extensive recreational component? So we left some flexibility that there's a potential, if someone came in and really wanted to build a golf course in the town of Littleton, which is what this whole thing started out as, what a golf course would look like, they could build the golf course on up to 80% of the 100 acres or 200 acres, whatever it had to be to support the golf course, and not have to really worry about the open space component, or maybe give us a minimal amount of that in order to actually build a golf course out there. That would have no ancillary or no outside retail component. There wouldn't be an office building, there wouldn't be some sort of store or a strip mall or anything went with it. It would be a golf course. It would have ancillary things that went with that, probably a clubhouse, probably some food, some things like that to support that, pro shops and things, but it would be a true golf course as we all knew it. So we had those two different kinds of scenarios, and then there's a list of table of uses of everything that we would allow as the retail component and the extensive recreation, so all those tables are in there too. So that brings us to basically now and we did give it some flexibility so that if there was something that really made sense that would kind of fit in here, we wanted to have the ability to make sure it would work in there. That's why there's a little bit of flexibility in there. And now we're getting to the logistics of it and the legal aspects of it, so I guess that's 4 months and 5 minutes.
All right.
Peter, do you have?
Yes, Mike, I read through the thing, and I'm probably not a good reader, but who actually ends up owning the 70%? I was looking in the back part, it looked like they could give it as easement or stuff like that, but what was the board's thought about who was going to actually own this? Are they
Well,
gonna
actually,
give it
when
to
we
the town, or?
this started out, we wanted the town to own it 90% of the time, just like we do in a regular open space residential development now. Most of the time, the town gets it, or conservation, or Park and Rec gets it, or it goes to the town for a variety of uses. We'd still like that to be the predominant theme of what happens to this. We also recognize that there may be some uses where the owners of who are developing this may need some of that land for some of their stuff, or may not want to absolutely donate it all, or they have to deed restrict it, but absolutely not want to donate it to the town. They want to still contain control of it. So we've left that in there, and that is one of the issues that we'd like input from the residents as they look through this to see which way, because it's always been the town got the open space land. This may be a little bit of a change.
Can I ask a second question here?
Sure.
I don't want to take, actually, that 70% by kind of the going rate, that'd be about $10 million. So I'm not sure how they feel about giving away $10 million. In the verbiage in the back part of who would kind of run the thing, they listed different groups that would be in charge of the open space, if you will, or the town's portion, or whatever. And would that group determine what could go in there? Again, I could see a group saying, okay, we're in charge now, we just want to put a football field in.
It's going to be dictated really by what the ultimate town wants to do with the open space. If they want a football field, it's going to go to Park and Rec. If they want to conserve it, maybe it's got some wetlands on it, they want to conserve it for a walking trail, it would go to conservation. If it had an agricultural value to it and the townspeople wanted to put a farm on it, it would go to the agricultural or to the town for farming. It's going to be determined by what the land, what the ultimate disposition of the land will be. That's how we left it flexible so that.
But it sounded like one organization would control it.
No, it's no different than open space right now. The way we do open space in a regular conventional subdivision with an open space component is different entities. Sometimes it goes to conservation, sometimes it goes to the Conservation Trust. We've also given it to Park and Rec, we've also given it can go a number of different places. They'll still have that flexibility.
Thank you.
Are you sure about that?
It's worth,
Yeah.
yeah, it's worth pointing out, it's the working group
We
that
didn't
did
do
this.
that with Omni.
We made on
That's conservation restricted, but nobody got it.
we made on to give us money because we thought that
We didn't take the land.
The land right now is in the middle, nobody wants the land right now, because
You said we
National
didn't take
Heritage,
the land.
National Heritage is still, it's in no man's land right now, it's National Heritage, still hasn't determined what they're gonna do with the land.
Why did we take the land?
We,
Come back to this.
we went, so, anyway.
Is Worth Our Plans the working group that put this together?
I'm not saying why we didn't take them, I'm just saying we
And
didn't
you
take
talked about the board, it's the working group that actually put together, it wasn't the board, it was,
It was a working group, right.
we're right.
That's why it's before,
And we're
This is the
reporting.
first time it's come before the
everybody's
board.
got a chance to see it. Okay, do you wanna, maybe you should continue before we get into too many more details. Maybe you can answer more of the questions.
Okay, but the first comment that I had is, sure. First comment I had back is town-based active recreation, as it's defined. As the bylaw is currently drafted, and this may be something we need to clear up a little bit. Town-based active recreation is something that happens in the 70% that's set aside.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, that needs to be open for use by the general public. And I just wanted to make sure I understood, so I can embody it in the bylaw, what we want that to mean. Just to open to general public, meaning a private facility that is open to use by the public for a fee? Does it mean public land, public park? What is the outcome that we're looking for there?
We're looking, do you wanna,
Well, I think the outcome is to get the 70% of the land and then determine what the use is. And the intent is to have the use, to have something to be available to the entire public. So it would be, whatever type of fields that are available to the entire public, or whatever the use turns out to be, but not turn into a private
active or
exercise.
passive recreation, it could be anything from fields that we farm to fields that we just leave so that we have the vista of it and people wanna walk in there and cross country.
But backing up a step, do we want that to be determined as part of the special permit process?
We want it to
After
be
the
determined
fact.
that we're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Right, as part of the special permit process. It's gonna be up to the town to decide what they wanna do, who gets it, whether it's conservation, whether it's school department, whether it's parking, whether it's agricultural.
And like Mark said, that's gonna depend on the lot of land. Some lots are gonna be more conducive to farming, some may be more conducive to fields. So maybe for the general public, maybe that's the confusion that needs to be removed somehow.
I can work on that.
Okay, so it's gonna be town control. If it's going to the town, it's being deeded to town, it'll be town controlled, and the town will decide where it goes.
How about if it's not deeded to the town, if it remains in private ownership?
Well, then if it stays in private, then we need to discuss what the town gets out of it. If they're using it for, and we're not talking a lot, if they're using it for part of their drainage system and passive, things like that, we'd still like to have access there. Or if they're doing it for recreational and they leave some of the land to us and they build more ball fields and we get to use the ball fields, we're sort of thinking along those lines. That there has to be a gain for the town, and it has to be, we don't wanna have to pay to use it.
Well, isn't the gain the fact that it's not being developed into houses?
That's our first priority. The gain is that we're getting open space.
But there has to be usable.
The landowner is getting a portion of their property that they can develop into making it financially viable, and the town is not getting 70 houses. We're getting 70 acres out of 100 if we go in that term. That's the bottom line. How it gets used, I think, is secondary just quite yet. As
So
far
Chris,
as
that's the intent. If there's any wording that needs to be changed to make that intent more clear.
I can work on that.
If that landowner wants to continue to, wants to farm, say,
Right.
they shouldn't be prohibited from farming.
That's
If that landowner has some lumber on that land, and they want to cut the lumber, they shouldn't be prohibited from cutting that lumber. The town is benefiting by not having houses there, and having the vista and the land remain as basically what we see today.
That's why we left it, that it doesn't have to go to the town. It doesn't have to be deeded, whereas always before in our special permits, it had to go to the town. Now we're backing up a little and saying, if there's a good use, like you said, if they want to continue to farm it and they put a deed restriction that it'll stay as an active farm or something like that,
Yeah,
And they
that's the
make
one
more
that was
sense
left
to-
out, the deed restriction for the use of the owner to continue to keep there.
I think that circles back to my original question, which was that that's two pretty different outcomes. You've got land dedicated to town use and someone continuing to farm the 70% that's set aside. If that's, if we're open to both of those things as the result, then that's what I want to confirm.
And that gets decided during the special permit process. They come and they say, we're gonna use this for our 30%, and by the way, we're gonna extend our recreation over here, so in that case, it wouldn't get deeded to the town. If they just wanted to stay on their lot, then they can deed it to the town, and then we decide what use we wanna make. So I think it's flexibility, but the thing that, you seem to raise an alarm, like, I wanna make sure there's no loopholes too, guys, so.
Right. We want the flexibility that if there's a use that it's better served not to go to the town, we have the ability to look at that. That's. So, go ahead, and. Danny, you have a question?
What if you get land on both sides of the street, you don't have 100 acres in one farm?
With that, if you can have,
So this is commercial and recreational?
this is commercial and recreational, you're allowed to, if you have it on both sides of the
So
street?
I could put a Walmart in?
No.
No.
Why not?
First of all, it's a big box, we wouldn't let you do that in the first place. So you couldn't do that, right?
So
And you'd have
what
to,
can I put in?
you could put in, well, it depends on what you wanted to put in.
Well, tell me what I can put in.
What are you gonna put in for extensive recreation first?
I asked if it was commercial.
You're allowed a retail component, you'd be allowed if you took 100 acres on both sides of the road, and you wanted to put an extensive recreation on one side and a retail on the other, you could have, 30 acres that would be an office building, a restaurant, small little retail clothing store, crate and barrel, that kind of stuff. You could do all of that stuff in there. You'd be
Almost
allowed
anything
to
you
do-
want to put on it, on the 30 acres, on the 30% of it.
Can I put in a grocery store?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be limited by however big the
About how
lot
many
is.
square
Yeah,
feet you
how many
have,
square
yeah,
feet,
you can do that, sure.
And there's impervious limits and things like that.
Right.
Well,
How many
let me-
square feet can you put up on, if you use 100 acres, how many square feet building can you put up on 30 acres?
It's objected to the bylaw of the, below, what, it's 600? What's the one so we don't get Home Depot?
60,000?
One building can't be more than 60,000 square feet.
Danny, there's a schedule of allowed non-residential uses in one of these proposals, and it covers things like laundries, hotels, retail stores, market, drugstore.
That table's come out, and now we just refer to everything that's allowed in the business districts.
This table,
If you wanted to put a
this table's
retail,
not here?
if you wanted to put a Target, a small Target, you could do that.
If you look at the current version, August 15th on the top.
Mr. Cole in the back.
Yeah, this 70, using the 100 acre as an example. The 70 acres that are gonna be left for open space and basically dictated by the town, it's just being taken from the landowner, basically. Yeah, we have the choice,
Well, no,
like good land and give up bad land?
I don't exactly see it like that. It's a trade-off of allowing you to do something commercially on a piece of land that's not zoned commercial. And in order to do that, you have to have a recreational component, extensive recreational component, and you can have some retail component with it.
How extensive? All right, my next, my next question. Out of that 70 acres, if it is deeded to a trust, because you said it doesn't necessarily have to go to the town, if it's deeded to a conservation trust or something like that, and they use it for ball fields and things like that, there are two things that bother me. Number one, that land is never gonna generate one dime in tax revenue. And who's gonna pay to have these fields built? So the town is losing out on possibly a free enterprise business going in there and generating jobs and income to the town through tax revenue.
You're putting in
If the
a,
town ends up with it, we're gonna end up, the taxpayers, spending money to turn it into something.
Not necessarily.
there's no business use allowed in there right now. So by doing this, you're allowing the business use. So I think you said something about, well, we can't, we're prohibiting people from putting a business use in there. This is all for zone residential. So you're being allowed a certain business component. And then the portion that gets sent to the town, like you said, Ballfield, who's gonna build that, and that's gonna be remains to see what happens with that land. So if the land is deeded to the town, the Ballfields, yeah, then if we don't have people coming in to build them, the town would be required to build those and maintain them.
If you
And
don't
once-
want houses there, why don't you rezone it to part of the overlay district?
Then all of it would be commercial, so what good would that do? Then
You
you'd
still
have,
control what goes there.
no, you don't. No. This is a trade-off, it's allowing intense commercial development over here by leaving the 70% of it as open space, recreational land. It's the same kind of thing we're doing with housing now. Rather than put 50 houses on 50 acres, we put 50 houses on 20 acres and we'll leave the other 30 as open space. But we're doing basically the same thing, we're flipping it and doing it from a commercial standpoint. And there has to be a good reason in order to do it. There has to be an extensive recreational component that goes with it. So you can't just put a Walmart in there. You have to have something that's recreational, that's in that we want to see in there.
Part of the project.
As part of the project, and there has to be a decent reason for the 70 acres to come back to the town or be left as farming and be allowed to continue farming or be deed restricted or something like that. It's not just, we put a lot of thought into how we wanted to see what happened with these big parcels of land left in the town of Littleton. And we don't want to see them all just houses, and we don't want to see them all go commercial. We want a piece of it and the rest left in its natural state. So it's 70, that's why we came up with 70.
Back up for a second.
What?
There's nothing in our open space bylaw that says you have to give us land, am I correct? I mean, we already went through this for like 6 months.
You're right.
I believe that's right.
All right, so if you're saying this is like our open space bylaw, there's nothing in that bylaw that says they have to give the town the land.
9 times out of 10 they do.
I'm not talking about the
This one-
practice, I'm talking
This
about
one
the
will
rule.
say it. This one will say
The
it.
rule, this rule's gonna say, we're gonna take it.
Yeah, you're gonna take it.
We are.
We're gonna take it.
That's an option.
That's an
Do we
option.
want to take it?
We may or we may not want to take it. It's gonna depend on the land.
So what are you gonna take the good land, that's the vista that you're gonna say, and we can only deal with the bad land?
No, if you came before us
Yeah.
and you said, wait, no, time,
That's
no.
exactly right.
No,
That's
it's-
exactly right.
No, it's-
right.
no,
You
it's-
get the wetlands and all the non-buildable portion, and they
No,
build on the
bang.
part they
No,
can.
Ron, if he came in and said, I want to do this, but I want to continue the farming, and I'll put a deed restriction on this, and I'll continue to farm it for the.
I don't wanna farm this
Come on, in
whole-
practice, he's gonna locate his building in the best part of the property.
He can't.
And he's gonna leave us the rest.
If you read it, it'll show you that you can't.
I'd like to put it this way, is the proponent who is putting the application in brings the plan in. You don't bring your land in and have us draw it for you. So that's where it starts, with what you want to do. with
We
it.
can draw where we want it?
You can draw what you
Not-
want.
Not what they used to say.
No, there's a percentage that has to be, it can't be junk. You
No,
can't
you
give
said
us,
vista.
no, you can't give us spotted salamanders that are gonna be restricted. We want land that has value to it as well.
But where it starts, the proposal
Right,
starts
starts
with
with-
the proponent.
Correct.
Saying, this is what I'd like to do.
Then you shouldn't say 70%,
It is 70.
because you can take away 80% of my good land, so I can't use, so I get the swamp left.
You tell us, we don't, just like Ted told you, you come in with your plan and say, I wanna put this over here, I wanna do this over here. You come to us first, and as long as you're not giving us land that's underwater, that's fine, we're okay with that.
So that isn't 70% of the land.
Well, we don't know, you haven't brought us a piece yet, how can you
Well, no,
say
you're
that?
telling us, oh yeah, we're gonna put 70% in what you're saying, and you're telling me that I might have to give you 80% of my good land, so I'm not
No,
gonna
we
be able
didn't
to,
tell you
I'm
that.
not gonna be able to utilize 30% of my good land.
You gotta be able to get the 30% to work, so obviously you're
I'm gonna be able to get it to work?
you're going to have to get the 30% to work. So that would be where you put your best stuff first. Take your best for your 30%, and as long as you're not giving a spotted salamander that's gonna be restricted anyway,
Well,
and
that's
wetlands
open
and
space.
stuff like that.
Well, wait a minute, this is still a discussion, this isn't, we're not, I don't think it's trying to take something from somebody, and it's basically
Sound
getting,
like it is.
well, it's trying to get someone, exactly in your instance, or the Fletchers, or the Mathesons, that has a large tract of land, And instead of them putting 80 houses, 100 houses on it,
Which we can.
which you can do,
Yeah.
which is true.
Really?
You get to sell that once, and it's gone, right? If you have a commercial component to it, and you build on that, and you get an income from it, and you rent those places out, and it provides a number of things for the town. One thing, it doesn't have a bunch of school children come in at $10,000 apiece to educate.
Wow.
Just keep going.
Well,
Go ahead.
This is 12, but-
yeah, well, if
Whatever.
you put the state in, it drops down to 11.3, so be it. I do know the numbers, but, you know, easy numbers, Littleton High School, hundreds of tens.
That's a good number. Okay, keep going.
What is happening?
It's trying to give you more options to do with your land, not take it from you. Give you more options so you can do something that both benefits you, which I think it should. It should benefit the landowner. It should benefit the town so that we're not, again, educating many more children than we need. I mean, it's like to have kids, yeah, but I'm one of 8. You make any money off of my family. So that's what it's trying to do. And if what you like about this, say so. What you don't like, say so. And that way, because you are one of the landowners that really has your choice here.
Right.
So it's affecting you personally a lot more than the rest of us. So what you say definitely has to hold merit here.
See, one of the biggest reasons for this whole, going down this whole road is that all that land right now is zoned residential. And the only use people have for that land right now is whatever they're doing, any use that you can find in residential. And farming is one of those uses. Now, building houses is one of those uses too. So the whole concept here is to help the town steer people away from building houses into doing something else with their land. And to do that, you can't take all the economic value of that land away from the landowner. You have to allow them to have that same economic value, or you're not steering them away.
So I see the intent of this is to provide additional uses to these people in these zones, so that they can make the same money on 30% of their land as they would with 100% of their land developed as houses. That's what it is, to provide more options to these landowners. That's the way I see it. And we go, let's go have a beer sometime, Dan. We'll
A
talk.
higher grade of use. You can put retail, full-blown retail.
And if you think 30/70 isn't good,
Exactly. If you-
tell us.
If you can't,
Should it be a different number?
we had to put it, we had to come up with something.
And
That's
that-
why there's flexibility. It could go 60/40, it could go all the way up to 80%. If you came in and said, I want to build a golf course there, I have 200 acres, we'll use yours. Danny, you came in and said you want to build a golf course there. You could build a golf course there, and we wouldn't get anything out of it. All 80% of your land would go to building that golf course. You could put it in, maybe we
wouldn't
get,
get houses.
we wouldn't.
But you could still, if the golf course failed, you still could build houses.
Yeah, obviously if it failed, yeah, we don't want it
Put a
empty.
deed restriction on it.
Yeah, but the point is, if you decided not to do all extensive, and you wanted to take the 30%, say you took the left side of your land and wanted to put a commercial thing, you wanted to build a strip mall there, and you wanted to put a little convenience store in here, and you wanted to put an office building over here, and you wanted to put some shops over here. You could do that, and you wanted to put a driving range on the other side, you could do that.
You know, but your statement was you're putting roadblocks in, that you're saying on the 70/30 that you're proposing right now, that I gotta give you like some of the good land, like there's other places, and your buddy's agreeing with me right now.
We never said that, you have
That's
to,
what you said.
it's
That's what
gotta,
you said. You
it's
just said. You just said.
it's gotta be viable for you to put the
No,
30%.
you said viable for
It's an
you.
option, no one's making you do it.
No, we don't want all the junk land, but you gotta obviously have good land to support what you put in there. We don't want all spotted salamanders, we want land that.
Why not?
We want
You get
land
your
that,
open space.
we want land that people are gonna be able to walk on, that if it's gonna be passive recreation, or if it's gonna be active recreation, maybe they're gonna farm it, maybe there's gonna be ball fields on it. We just don't want all the underwater, all the swamp stuff that wouldn't be built on anyway. That's all I'm trying to say.
So regarding the salamanders and whatever, wouldn't that be the land that we'd want to have be in like the 70% component? Because we wouldn't want to have that land developed. if
We
there's
are, but
species of
not
interest.
all of it 70, not all of it spotted
Well,
salamander.
is there a 100-acre parcel in town that has 70% of it as spotted salamander?
We don't know.
I don't think
There
so.
might be, you never know, there might be lists.
I think the salamander should be taken care of.
Got the same percentage
Napalm?
on both the preserved and the.
They never hurt me.
Yes, Peter?
Back, a follow-up question, where do we go from here? I mean, is this gonna be something we're gonna roll out for the fall town meeting?
Yeah. We're gonna
And
have
is,
public meetings starting on the 12th
okay,
of September.
so any input, we can feed it back into the committee through Ted, or
It's gonna, no, it's coming to the planning
it's
board.
gonna go through you, any things we see as a problem or suggestions?
Exactly what we want your input. As soon as possible, since we're gonna start this on the 12th, and we're gonna need to have a pretty good idea of what people like and what people don't like, from anybody. Doesn't just not need to be agriculture, doesn't just need to be Peter Yaps or Danny Pickett, anybody that has any issues with this. We'd like to sit down and we're gonna have a longer meeting with more in-detail issues that hopefully we can address at the 12th. Yes, ma'am,
Do
again.
you want the input before the 12th?
Absolutely. The sooner you can get it
In
to
what
it.
form, like an email? or-
Emails tomorrow, how's that? Yeah. Anyone else have any questions, or do you want to continue, Chris, or we?
Mark, one thing. Joe, I was talking with Joe Knox the other day, and this actually this concept of extensive recreation predates the concept of a golf course. Joe, do you want to elaborate?
The history of it, I found out from a former selectman, dates back to 1975, and had to do with, I don't know whether this is relative to what's going on, but it dates back to 1975, it had to do with Camp Neshoba putting up bubble buildings for tennis and that type of thing. That's where the extensive recreation came. The townspeople voted at the time, they had the board of selectmen be the one in charge of that kind of endeavor, but that's, I'm not sure what it has to do with this right here, but it did start as an extensive recreation in 75, and we dealt with more tennis courts and
Anything else, huh? And that's a good point. One of the, why we got up to the 80, because if someone wants to come in and put a facility where there's all ball fields, they could go all the way up to the 80. If we're getting ball fields, something like that, that is gonna have some use to the town.
There will come a point where we have enough ball fields.
Exactly.
But it could be tennis courts too, it could be a tennis facility or something like that.
There will be a time when we have all the sporting facilities we need, especially if you don't build any more houses, we won't have that many more kids playing sports. See? Double that facility.
How many kids?
I got 3 great kids.
Chris, any other issues we need to?
I think I have what I need to. I've got some edits and revisions that I think I may suggest based on what I've heard tonight, but
Does anyone have any more questions?
So are you gonna make sure that whoever this bylaw lands in front of, that when we have to fight this for like 9 months or a year, that we know what the scenarios are, at least the common scenarios, so we don't get sandbagged again?
that's what I want to work on, is to make sure that everybody knows exactly how this is going to work before.
Because if somebody can't articulate it in like 5 minutes on the floor in October, we shouldn't vote on it.
Well, hopefully, a lot.
So far, I don't really understand how it works, and I've read it like twice.
Yeah, it's too quick to be doing it for November.
We have a couple of meetings before that, you can still address it.
2 meetings for the rest of the month?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned a golf course as being an acceptable use of the land. A similar use of the land would be an amusement park. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. It's recreation, after all.
You mean like a water park or something?
Like
Well,
what
that's what I'm
Kimball's is
thinking, yeah.
doing.
Six Flags.
You've got to address that if you're going to make a bylaw.
We have it in there, and it's, I guess it's gonna be up to the people in town to tell us whether they wanna have something like that, a
We
water
got
park.
motorized go-karts
We
in
have,
there
yeah,
too.
we have go-karts, we have
Gas
golf in there.
motors.
We have a bunch of things.
Well, I know, but I think that's just something you have to address, and if you're going to...
Hybrids.
You want 70% recreation, and you're going to allow up to 80% use as a golf course. What happens if somebody wants to do it 80% use as a theme park?
You don't have that, you don't allow that.
Just like to know your thoughts on it.
The way it's
The way
written.
it's
Well,
written now,
they-
you
they
don't, you
can't-
wouldn't allow that.
We would allow it.
You
They
would
can't
allow
pave the whole place,
You
which
would
most of
allow-
those places are.
extensive recreation on 30%, up to 30%.
Depends how you define recreation. As you
Right.
pointed out, it looks like 100% could be active adult recreation. That's one of my concerns.
There's a distinction between extensive recreation and town-based active recreation that we need to.
But it could be the same.
iron out.
They could look exactly the
You're gonna
same
fix that?
over 100%.
Yes, way in the back, since you haven't asked the question.
So just based on what I've just seen very quickly, it just, on the basis of a very quick look, it just looks very pro-commercial and very pro-development. And secondly, I'm looking at all the indoor recreational uses and outdoor recreational uses. And I guess my question is, or maybe my statement is, it looks like all of these things are possible. So I guess I could assume that we could possibly see all of these things on route to 119, is that correct?
That is true.
30% of
Because
it.
an arena and a stadium would just, absolutely no. That would just destroy the.
So putting the context for.
Well,
But I think that.
the concept here is to preserve the views, so
We're talking
before a site plan
Why a
is,
stadium and an arena is,
Yeah.
that wouldn't preserve.
It's, we're talking like if you wanted to put a riding arena in there, something like that, or if you wanted, you can only do it on the 30 acres, the 30%.
You can put a riding arena on anything right now.
Well, you can right now, yeah.
30%.
You could also put a hockey rink, we call that, you could put a hockey rink up there if you wanted to
Agricultural.
put that up there.
And you still have all the purposes up front. And you can only issue a special permit if the design of the project meets the purposes.
Right.
You find that.
So, I mean, we would have negotiating power with the developer to where that land's gonna be, where those buildings are gonna be located. So if they put it right up on the road on Route 2,
No.
we could say, no, you're not getting the permit, we're done.
Right.
Discussion's over. So we have that
Who's
discussion.
gonna assure me that that's gonna happen? I mean, I think-
Assure you that it's gonna happen?
Yeah,
It is
it's like, I
part
don't
of
know, like, stop it here, like, scratch it off.
No, then what you
stadium.
have to do is have a thing put in that you can buy the land, the town can buy the land so nothing happens to it.
Yeah, but the whole
And
purpose
full
of this
rate
discussion
traffic.
though is about doing a swap for commercial development versus residential or farmland. In exchange for that, we get some control over where they located, and they get a use they didn't have before. It's a swap out.
See, remember, this is about crafting some language that will help steer large landowners away from building houses without taking any economic value away.
Or increasing their economic value.
Right, absolutely, giving them more.
Possibly
Possibly
increasing
increase their
their
economic
economic
value, but the town would end up with.
Make it economically desirable not to build houses.
Exactly.
Ma'am, yes.
Yes, you know, I've just read it for the first time and skimmed it pretty much and still wrapping my mind around it, but a couple of questions and comments. It seems like the goals of the bylaw, as stated at the beginning, it's a little bit conflicted. You know, it talks about preserving scenic vistas, and then, you know, there's other stuff about how it can be developed for ball fields, which isn't really, you know, scenic vistas. So, you know, I just sort of commenting on that. Also, on page 4, it talks about the land, the protected open space shall be contiguous to the greatest extent practicable. I hope it would be contiguous. You know, the 70% should be contiguous if it's going to be a park, or if it's going to be some kind of protected area for species of interest, or if it's going to be used for agricultural purposes or whatever. You don't need the tiny little slices of land in between the parking spaces or in between the roadway and the building. So I'm not asking for a reply right now, I'm just making my comments. I think that, you know, it should be contiguous. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, the treated stormwater may be discharged into the protected open space. That's not a very good idea.
Wait.
You know, I thought it was protected open space, it's not.
It is, they're saying that this 10% of the water can be discharged into some sort of basin or infiltration basin. So you're gonna take the treated water and you're gonna return it to the ground is the intent.
Exactly.
And then what they're saying is, or what the bylaw says is that if you use these, if you wanna use additional land, up to 10% of the 70%, it has to be used for something like that. It can't be developed, but if you wanna use it for infiltrating water, then that's what it can be used for.
Well, I guess I would say that in my view, that's a subtraction of that 10% from the 70% protected. You know, what we're doing is we're paring back on the 70% that's protected.
No, you're right, but you could be getting habitat, and you could be, I was against it as well. This is why I'm speaking, because I didn't like taking away from that 70%, but it comes down to a small portion, and if it's protected, if you can get a nice wetland in there, you can get wildlife in there, you can increase the number of critters and salamanders that live in there, so I think
I
it's...
think maybe if some of those, ifs were in here, it might be more acceptable, but just to say, we can discharge treated stormwater into the protected open space, what's it gonna be, really, a slough? It just doesn't seem like that good an idea.
And to address one of your comments, the fact that the land needs to be contiguous will actually serve opposite to goals here, because the goal here would be to protect as much open space as possible, whether it be contiguous or not. But we're not talking about little half-acre pieces.
Yeah, I just think if the 70% is split up into the little section alongside the road, and then there's part of it's in between the road and the building, it's just getting slivered up. That's not really meeting the purpose, and, species of interest aren't gonna be able to use that space.
So the guy from the state came and proposed this, we went to this joint thing. So the guy from Magic comes in and he says, there are situations where people had, say, 20 acres here and 10 acres across town. They wanted to develop 15 acres on the 20, but they had 10 over here they intended to keep as open space. They could, in some cases, some towns have allowed them to swap land where they wanted to build for non-contiguous in exchange for building on that 15%. When you add them together, that makes up the 30%.
Okay, perhaps in some cases that might be a benefit, but what about the roadways, the access roads and whatnot, are those part of the 30% or?
So to your point, it's all facts and circumstances on the individual proposed development. So you would have to look at each development as it's proposed, as it stands on its own.
But as this is written right now, that would be permitted.
Yes, in fact.
Well, that's why we need him to tighten it all up.
Yeah, the roadways could carve up the 70%.
No, the roadway is part of your 30%.
It is part of
All
your
paving is part of your 30%.
Right.
Any development's part of that 30%, absolutely.
The roadway that serves the commercial has to be on the 30%. But I don't want to get to the point that, if we do have active recreation, we do have ball fields, there's obviously going to be some roads serving that as well on the 70%. But you're right, that anything that's built commercially, anything that's built for the commercial purpose has to be on the commercial, except for the case
Yeah,
of the
but and to
stormwater.
your question, we have overlapping special permits here. If that was to be built in the watershed district or anyplace else, where you still have to conform to those impervious restrictions, just like the church was in front of us before, and they can only do 40%, no matter what.
Jenna?
Yeah, another component of drafting this is that in the past, the Littleton Board of Selectmen have been the special permit granting authority, and in our discussions, the argument was made that it would make more sense for the planning board to hold the special permit granting authority. So we would be looking to the townspeople to also contribute their thoughts as to whether one board or the other should hold that authority.
In a case of this magnitude, I think it should probably be both boards.
It can't be both.
No.
Why not?
Then the selectmen, because they come from a greater population than the planning board.
We have,
So it's something that I think we're looking for some input from folks in town as to what makes sense. And there are arguments certainly for
You want to weigh in on that one?
why to and why not to.
well, can I put a proposal out there, some of the things that float around was, the section 198 procedure, there's A and B, A, B, C, and D. I think during the process, Mark made some good points about how, you have the experience with the special permits and a lot of those kinds of things like that. I think there also needs to be a checks and balance, and that was the point that I made. So if there's something that we can add into the procedures that requires the approval of the use or the business and things like that by the selectmen, put that in there. And that's if the selectmen do not maintain the SP, the special permit granting authority.
Okay.
So that's, I just want to put that out there before we can let Chris speak now, sorry.
My sense would be to have the greater representation on a decision like this. A combined board would be what I would recommend if we could possibly do that.
So it's something to talk about, and Attorney Heath can certainly.
I've waited on that, and I'm afraid, I'm sorry to say, that the zoning act says you can, it has a definition of special permit granting authority. And in the definition is a list of boards, but it's one of those boards. You get to pick and choose. I believe that definition limits the town and prevents it from creating its own hybrid board, special permit granting authority comprised of 2 boards. That's certainly a creative solution, but I don't think it's consistent with the zoning act and would likely, if we tried it, likely get disapproved by the Attorney General.
So Chris, is there a possibility to put in there, selectmen must first approve something else, or, I know it's not, you're not making, they're still SPGA, but, maybe they need a letter of endorsement, something that we can create from the selectmen before going to planning board.
We can absolutely create a parallel review before a different board. I don't believe that a positive recommendation could be an absolute requirement of the grant. I think it could be advisory. Nobody would have any problem with that. But if we established 2 boards that both needed to approve it, that's the same. I think that, to me, that's effectively the same as creating a joint board for this program.
One more and then we'll move on. Go
Like
ahead.
Peter said, why does it have to be primarily recreational? What happens if, that you get 100 years from now and people they want something else, not just recreation? Why can't it be 30%, commercial, and then if you're gonna do that, then why does it have to be recreational?
It has to have a recreational component to
Well,
it.
you're doing that because of the Fletcher property right now.
No, we're doing it because
That's
we.
right, he's right.
Well, that's
That was
part
the
of it.
impetus, but it's being fit for all properties. That
Correct.
maybe they have the 40-acre minimum.
Yeah, so that, who's to say that you're gonna need 1,000 acres of recreational in the future?
You're right, we'll get to the point where.
It'll be saturated.
So tell them why.
And then-
Town meetings every year.
Right, we can change it at a later
Well, then
date.
put it that way now.
No, because we haggled over this in the beginning, and we all decided among the boards that we would use the recreational bylaw. That's the one we would take the change. That's why it's that way.
And it makes the most sense because that's what they're looking to do, a recreational
We
component.
wanted to use the farming bylaw, and we said no.
Not for the rest of our properties.
What do you mean?
You're looking at the Fletcher property right now, you're not looking at the rest of
Yes.
Anything over 40.
Anything, we are, we're looking at large landowners like yourself over 40.
Who's to say that it's gonna be all, has to be primarily recreational?
The bylaw does.
Change it.
We're trying to change it so that it gives you a higher grade of use to do, other than just put pumpkins on there. If you wanna put a store in there,
You said it had to be primarily,
it has to have a recreational component to it.
so it can't just be a target.
If you know, what we wanted to keep away from is if somebody wanted to take 40 acres and put a little miniature golf thing there and then put a target right on top of it. That's not what we wanted. We wanted it to be all encompassing, to take up, to take up all those
But the
40.
main goal is to protect the 70% of the land for the town.
Correct.
So you wanna get the most use for the landowner that's gonna sell it instead of putting up all houses.
Exactly.
So why are you putting it primarily recreational? Because it's gonna be saturated. It's great now, but
Right.
who's to say you need say a movie theater was recreational? Who needs 70 movie theaters in the town?
You know, a movie theater is recreation, but if you wanted to put a cross-country facility on yours, or a driving range, or a golf course, or a couple of soccer fields.
Or a mini bike, or
Oh, yeah,
a
motor
go-kart.
Have a go-kart.
Yes, with motors.
You know what Danny,
Gas.
what Dan, Mark, what Dan is trying to say here, excuse me,
Oh, hey, can we, go ahead.
excuse me, if I'm not mistaken, I think what Dan is trying to say here is,
Go ahead.
I think what Dan is trying to say here, without putting words in your mouth, is that why, if we're offering these uses, why structure around one use? Why not just let it be all uses?
It's a flexible development.
The 30% can be all units. What are you gonna do with the 70? That's what we're
Well,
trying to get
but
at.
this this is structured around a specific use, recreational.
Right.
And why does it need to be structured around one specific use? Why couldn't it be 30% of multiple uses?
And why can't it be 50-50?
It can be.
Because we deliberated on this when we started this process, and we deliberately selected the recreational use bylaw, because nobody wanted to touch the farming bylaw. That's why.
But
That was the discussion we all had, we were in a room for 2 hours, and we argued about it.
Farming has nothing to do if I can sell it. There's no reason
But
not to
that's
change
what
it.
these people went forward on to do this work, we all agreed on it in the beginning.
But Danny is suggesting and putting
I
on the
understand
floor
what he suggested, he's asking the
It's
question why.
is to possibly not craft it around one specific use.
No, because
I
we
know
took the
that.
extensive recreation bylaw and we
Locked
adapted
ourselves
it.
into it in the beginning.
That's how we went about it.
Bunch of property, not for the other
You
land.
better tell the working
Town.
group, they
It
better
could
go
ju-
back and change it.
It could be just as beneficial for you
Could
as
be
it is for.
hospitals and stuff later on in life.
But that's in the 30%. We're talking about, you have to give us a good reason to put something in the 70 to get to 30. If you want to put a hospital in the 70, you can't do it. Doesn't work. If you want to put an outdoor driving range, you want to hit golf balls in your 70% and then put a target in your 30, it will work. We've said that it's a trade-off. If you're going
I
to put
thought the
a,
70% was going back to the town.
it could.
Couldn't be a driveway.
You could also put a driving range
So
in
I can
there.
make money off the 70%.
Yes, that's what we've been saying
Who's
all
gonna
along.
prove that?
We are.
Or we are.
Who's gonna disapprove that?
Well, maybe.
The point is, you have to have a reason in order to go this route, and the reason we're doing it is extensive recreation. That's what the premise of this whole thing was, to foster more open space, to give you an intense use on your small little 30%, and we got something that we wanted in the 70, which was non-buildings, open space, that kind of stuff, okay?
So you still haven't answered, can the landowner choose the 30% he wants to develop?
Yes, you tell us.
No, you just told me that we don't want all the junk land.
You gotta, obviously it's gotta work, but you can't give us 70% of junk, we gotta have some good.
Get into a circle out here, just.
I know, never mind, you know what, we have to move on, we have another public, Peter.
I just had a quick question. Did the Fletchers buy into this? Did anybody talk with them? How's
Yeah,
it
they
feel?
met with us.
They liked it?
They actually sent a couple of their attorneys, and they really gave us some good language, where we had an idea, and they gave us language to fulfill our idea. And we were sat down at the first meeting, and, you know, I took to heart that there was supposed to be the negotiation team, whatever, I took it to heart, and I said, okay, 70-30 good. They said, yeah, well, can we go 75-25? He said, no. And I'm like, all right, can we go, whatever, 81, whatever, so the 70-30, the 30 was the minimum that they said that you go, so that's how we went there.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there an example of the sort of deed restriction that would be acceptable for the 70%? Because an open space or a conservation restriction certainly wouldn't allow a driving range. It sounds like the term deed restriction is being used perhaps too loosely for people to understand exactly what parameters would apply to the 70%. Because I would imagine that a good number of landowners would want to keep that property in their ownership, but under a deed restriction. And some of, as I said, some of the things that are listed here as possible uses would violate a conservation restriction and certain recreation restrictions even, so I think that that might help to clear up some.
That's why we're having town council work on it, go ahead.
I'm always happy to make up new forms of deed restrictions. It wouldn't fall into within the four corners of straight conservation restriction, but I'm confident we could work something out.
You have
There'd
to,
be some sort of a custom open space recreation in the town of Littleton deed restriction that would be the template that.
These are all the
it seems
details
like needs
that has to be worked out.
but you have to
before we can
remember,
do this.
we have to remember one thing. Our primary goal is for the town to get the land. We're saying that if it makes sense and we're willing to work with the land.
Town to get the use.
The town to get the use of the land.
That's
Restricted use. I think every landowner needs to be
Primary
part of
goal
this, not
is
just
to
one.
people away from houses.
Exactly, so that's why every situation is going to be different. There are some where the landowner's gonna wanna continue to farm it. Deed restriction, continue to farm it. There are some where the landowner may wanna give it to conservation, so then we would have it. We want the flexibility so that whatever end user gets to use that 70%, we have the flexibility and the protection to make sure what we decide at that special permit actually gets done.
How does it get decided when there are conflicts within those purposes and also with the applicant?
Absolutely. We're gonna have to it's gonna have to be a negotiation, a give and take, and You
That's
know,
what the permitting process
that's
is
what the
all about.
permitting's all, yeah, exactly.
But it seems ambiguous. I mean, what if, you have prime agricultural someplace that doesn't move, active recreation can move, and then there's a commercial component, some cases you don't want to buy a road, but the applicant may want to buy the road. It seems to miss a lot of the components that we have in the farm bylaw where we reserve vistas, we keep things away from the road, we give them incentives and bonuses.
We're still trying to do
This
all
doesn't have any of that.
This does, it says preserve the vistas and things like that, and preserve open space and things like that, it has all of that.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Very
have
loose
that in the
words.
nuts and bolts. You know, it says those words, but if you're gonna turn that vista into soccer fields or a golf course, it's not a vista anymore.
So you give, so you give the landowner more percentage, because if a lot of the land that's farmed is where you can put a septic system. If it's not being farmed, then it's junk land, so, and who put in that it's, did you have large landowners come to you and say that they would accept 30 to 70? Between
No,
30
we
and
never asked any large landowners anything. Is that should be a question we ask.
That'll be in the public hearing, it could be 60-40. We can change the percentages, we had to put something in there. And we did talk to the Fletchers, as Ted
You
said.
talked to the Fletchers, you didn't talk to the rest of us that you're gonna put.
You can come on the 12th and you can tell us what you think is a fair assessment. Okay, all right, we're gonna move on, we have another, a little bit of this things that the selectmen want to talk to us about.
Can I ask a question back? Are we supposed to be in on it? On the marijuana thing?
It's agriculture.
I thought got on our agenda, I'm not sure if we're...
It's
a public meeting.
It's a public meeting, so you're more than welcome to stay.
Yeah, the thing is, if we were on the agenda, we'd like to close our meeting.
Go ahead. You want to
So
close
we're
your
not
meeting?
officially on
Yeah,
the agenda.
and just right, do you want to say when on the 12th we'll be holding this?
We're gonna, what
Public
time
hearing.
on the 12th?
Right now, 8:15.
8:15 on the 12th, and if you have any comments on the extensive recreation bylaw, please get them to us early. And we would love for all the large landowners in town to come on the 12th and tell us what they think about our first attempt at this.
And I think-
We're desperate for input.
I think many of us are open to personal contact too. If people have questions, they can contact us directly. I'm open for that.
So comments go to Myron, and it gets worked informally by town council.
Personal
Myron?
comments go to...
Okay.
We're gonna pull some of the larger landowners in to an agricultural commission meeting at the beginning of September, so.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yep.
How about the end of August?
All right, go.
It is the end of August.
Go ahead, Billy. You can be the last one, all right?
A couple of questions that I'd like to see brought up at a future meeting. Who's the biggest landowner in town? I believe it's the town of Littleton. And I'd like to know how much land in the town of Littleton owns. Point being, there's no tax revenue there. Second thing, this 70% is really, I think, outrageous. I do not want to see Route 2A totally built up by any stretch. But taking 70% of somebody's land and you say you're not taking it, which you basically are, you're restricting it to a point where they can't do what they want with it. So that 70% is a killer. And the other thing is, if in fact the town does end up with any portion of that 70%, they have to get the money to build ball fields, football fields, or anything else they want to do with it. So once again, the taxpayers are flipping the bill to have this stuff done. I don't think there's anybody in town that wants to see 120 houses go up. So that to me is kind of a scare tactic, you know? Yeah, it can happen, but I think there's 70-30, there's a big spread there, and I think it's gotta come down to where it's gonna be beneficial to the large landowners to even look at it. Because right now it's 70-30, if I owned it, I wouldn't even consider it.
That's something we can discuss on the 12th. Anyway, the selectmen have another issue they'd like to...
Yeah, we take that. I make a motion that we close the agricultural commission meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So thank you to the planning board for having the Board of Selectmen here to discuss an item that we had wanted to have at a meeting that we could both attend. And the topic is medical marijuana. That how we got here this far is that last November, there was a statewide ballot question which was approved by the voters, legalizing medical marijuana treatment centers, which are now called dispensaries by the Mass Department of Public Health. In Littleton, like statewide, that question passed. It passed by 3,800 in favor to 1,800 opposed. We followed the lead of many other communities, though, at our town meeting in May, and seeing that there are a lot of issues that will come up about citing such facilities locally, we did adopt by a near unanimous margin a zoning moratorium on medical marijuana treatment centers, so-called, through June 30, 2014, that we actually borrowed language that had just been approved by the Attorney General for the town of Burlington, and we had our town adopt the same language. So we're technically right now in that moratorium period, and any of the facilities that are would result from that law are in abeyance in Littleton through June 30, 2014. Meanwhile, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health has issued regulations and is going through a process of accepting applications for what they're now calling registered marijuana dispensaries, RMDs. And in fact, today was the day between the hours of 10 and 3 that DPH was accepting applications, and they received over 100 of them statewide. We will, and we have with us tonight one of the applicants who has a particular proposal that would, if approved, affect Littleton, and we'll get into that in a few moments. But we did want to have the opportunity for town council to just sort of frame what the issues are that we're dealing with, and then to have to hear from the proponent who is here with us tonight and would be able to share with us some more information on the proposal. So, Chris.
Sure. Thanks, Keith. As Keith mentioned, at the last annual town meeting, the town adopted a moratorium on medical marijuana treatment centers, and that moratorium runs through the end of June of next year. That moratorium, by its terms, applies to use the same definition as the statute that ultimately made medical marijuana a possibility in Massachusetts. It applies to any facility that acquires, cultivates, possesses, processes, transports, or sells medical marijuana, or does any one of those things. So a facility that just cultivates and cultivates alone is a medical marijuana treatment facility and is covered by the moratorium. We've looked at it, and we are entirely satisfied that the moratorium with respect to a cultivation facility would be effective through the end of June and fully in force for that time. The goal of the moratorium, as is the goal of all zoning moratoriums, was to buy the town time to engage in a comprehensive study and planning process, look at the impacts of these kinds of facilities, and adopt a plan, have a period of time to adopt a plan as to how to deal with them going forward. So that we're now in that time period, and I understand that the town may soon be launching into that comprehensive planning process. So the town can now be working on a bylaw that's going to deal with these things. We've looked at a number of, we've seen a number of different zoning bylaw changes be approved, disapproved, and approved with cautions by the Attorney General. So we're starting to get a good sense as to what will be approved and what may not. There is an interesting wrinkle with respect to a cultivation facility. The Attorney General has observed on several occasions that such facilities might constitute commercial agriculture, which is something that enjoys an exemption from, a partial exemption from local zoning in many cases. But that's something we are going to be able to work on as we go through the process. So again, I understand that there's been an application today that identified, as I believe the applicant was required to do to DPH, identified a site in Littleton as a possible cultivation location. DPH regulations required that those kinds of sites be identified at this stage. Nothing is before any Littleton board at this point. There's no application, no decision pending. So that's, I think, where we're at tonight, and look forward to working with everyone in the coming weeks and months to deal with this.
What's the threshold for a commercial?
There are several. There are three. 5-acre parcel, 2-acre parcel subject to certain sales limits, and land zoned for agriculture.
Yeah, could you define how cultivation facility or cultivation site refers to the medical marijuana facility, which is the component that people changed in the Burlington bylaw? Yeah, how did we define it exactly? Does it include the cultivation site as well?
As DPH has now uses the term in its regulations, a RMD, or registered marijuana dispensary, is an entity that does a number of things with medical marijuana. Grows it, processes it, and sells it are the three main ones. There can be, the way I think of it as I read the regs, one RMD that has two different locations. One, a cultivation site, one in one municipality, and two, a either processing or distribution site in another municipality. So an RMD is allowed by regulation to break out those parts of its operation into two separate geographic locations.
So it's an umbrella term that covers all of it in different components.
The term that was in the statute that was approved by the voters is medical marijuana treatment center. And that's what's in the statute. In the regulations that DPH has since adopted, they're parsing it into different pieces. So they're giving so they're identifying, registered marijuana dispensaries, and for which there would be cultivation sites, could be together, could be separate.
And what I'm trying to understand better, and maybe isn't clear, what we had in our bylaw, which was changed from the Burlington bylaw, which is the medical marijuana treatment center, I think, or whatever you refer to it. Is that an umbrella term that encompasses these components?
Yes.
That's what
Either collectively or separately?
And an RMD or a treatment center, they're really synonymous at this point. Could be all of those things or just one of them. So it could cultivate, process, and distribute, or it could just cultivate.
And just one other point in terms of what our journey is between now and June 30. The goal is to bring to the annual town meeting in May some kind of zoning bylaw amendments that more specifically address medical marijuana use. We said that facilities, that the purpose of the moratorium was to study, but we need to have some zoning amendment in place prior to the moratorium being lifted, or else we have our basic zoning and no further restrictions. So that's sort of that's the journey we're on in the coming months.
Thank you.
And
You're going to talk site specific?
yeah, we'd like to talk site specific.
Okay, so then I have to recuse myself because I am a direct abutter to the site that you're going to discuss.
Can I ask Chris one question before we get going? And I don't want to sound bigoted against marijuana, but when did marijuana become medical?
That's been for years.
To me, it's always been like a drug.
It is a drug.
Has to make sure.
When did it become, when did,
declare illegal in the
That's a law.
1930s.
when do we start calling, a drug a?
Well, the voters of the Commonwealth adopted it on last November.
I got one question. I got one question for Chris.
It's in place.
In regards to the
Never mind.
agricultural
I
piece,
retract my question.
is the DA, the AG gonna come out with better guidelines in regards to, because if it's agricultural, then we have no, I mean, dispensary, yes, we can restrict, but as an agricultural piece, we won't be able to even to restrict anything, or, so, what are you hearing from the AG's office on that?
I wish the AG had come out with more comprehensive guidance on this already. The AG's practice, unfortunately, is to issue this kind of guidance in the form of approval or disapproval letters when it gets the warrant articles to review.
Already?
So I'm afraid that we're likely not to get any formal guidance, but we do often talk to the AG and get some less.
So as we move forward and we talk about the cultivation site in Littleton that's being proposed, theoretically, we could come up with this beautiful bylaw and it get just booted right out because of agricultural determination by the AG. I just want to make sure that could happen.
The cultivation could get booted out.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. I'm not
Yeah.
saying the dispensary. I'm
Right.
talking about just cultivation only, because that's what we're talking about tonight.
As a legal question, that remains a possibility. I don't think that's the right outcome necessarily, but it's something we'll have to look at more. But the position the AG has taken is that it might constitute protected agriculture. We'll have to see how that.
The jury's out. There's no court decision.
Question comes out, but that's a big might, and it suggests that, there's two sides to that argument.
The chairs.
So people know that you're.
They'll be hiding in the back.
John?
Oh, Jesus.
Peter, are you vice chair? Oh, that's right.
Bring
Peter's
on the
vice chair.
clowns, the jokers and the
David, you switch you better switch your sign. You don't want to be mistaken for a Mark.
Hi, how are you? Okay. This is John Napoli, the proponent, and thank you. On behalf of the town, I want to thank you for coming here to share with us the information that it's one of the most asked questions, what are the details, and since we don't know, we're relying on you to tell us, and we're happy that we can do that here.
Well, thank you for having me. We'll be really quick. With the site we're proposing, well, first of all, my name's John Napoli. I'm from Acton, right down the road here. I live in Boston now, and I operate a business called The Hempist. I've been doing that since 1995. And I'm one of the people that's applying for the cannabis dispensary licenses. We're applying in Salem, Dennis, Cape Cod, and Boston, Mass. For the actual dispensary licenses. What we're proposing here in Littleton is just a cultivation site, not a retail dispensary, located on Jerry Cupp, who owns Cup & Cup. He's got about 80 acres of farmland and some greenhouses, and we were looking to convert the existing greenhouses into a cultivation center here in Littleton. It would all be, it goes into next year. We're not sure exactly how the moratorium affects an agriculturally zoned farmland. We think it's ideally located, and it would be a place where we could operate and cultivate top-notch medicine. But again, the sales would not be done here. Everything would be processed and brought into the towns that we're proposing for the retail centers. And basically, we're just here to answer any questions and clarify anything for the town. Sure.
I think that it seems like an ideal location, but I just thought of two things I could see being potential problems. One is it's very close to the middle school, and whether you want to believe it or not, kids in middle school smoke marijuana. How would you prevent them from illegally stealing it,
From helping
because,
themselves.
you know, that could happen.
Yeah, no, the DPH requires that you be at least 500 feet away from a school, and also requires very robust security. We've contracted Lantel Security, which is one of the biggest security providers in the state. Work with several police departments, Massachusetts State Police, and the requirements are really over the top as far as security goes. The place kind of has to be like a Fort Knox, so no kid is going to be able to get in there. And your bells and whistles are
And then
going
I
off.
had one other
Yep.
thought that I had. Now, of course, no one has grown marijuana before because it was illegal up until now. But I would imagine that the plants would have a very strong odor to them, and the magnitude of which you would have to grow to service the people that would need this medicine, I would imagine it would be a really, really strong odor. How would you get that under control so that it wouldn't, you know, bother people?
Well, there's no residences nearby.
We live pretty close,
How
actually.
far away?
Yeah, we live very close, so.
How far away?
I walk
2
by
acres from me.
it every single day when I walk my dog.
Yeah, but 2 acre, I mean, you're not gonna smell it from 2 acres away, you're not
But
gonna
how do
see
you
it.
know?
Could you address your questions to the population through me,
Oh.
through the chair, so that I can ask the people?
Sorry.
As far as the, in 1 second, could you explain to the Reader's Digest version, the security necessary and the size places? This cup has 3 places in Littleton, is that right? And would you be limiting it to only one?
You'd be limiting it to one.
And which one would that be?
Well, right, I mean, we were looking at the,
Which one are you looking
the one
at
on the
in
horse
particular?
farm, but I think it was within 500 feet of the school. So we're looking at the 263 King Street location right now.
All right. Jenna?
Yes, Mr. Chair, through you and to Mr. Napoli. My question is, with the 100-plus applications received today between 10 and 3, it's my understanding that 35 people will receive licenses. Do you know the process? Is it a lottery? Is it a review of the plans? I mean, how will the Department of Public Health make their selections?
It's a point scoring basis. They're going to review all applications and score it, just number-wise, go right through it and say, okay, how much business experience do you have? How much business experience do you have in this particular field?
Okay.
How strong is your application? How good are your locations? How robust is your security? How great is your delivery program? What else you have in there to help patients? Stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
The lady way in the back, please.
Yeah,
Get you next.
I have two first question. One is to the applicant and one is to our board members. The first one to the applicant is, you do realize this is still a federal class 1 drug, which has federal implications for arrest, correct?
Of course I realize that, yes.
Okay, so it's against federal law to grow, propagate, and distribute marijuana because it is a class 1 drug under the Controlled Substance Act of 1970, which was upheld by the Supreme Court in 2001. To the board, how are you going to involve families, abutters, people in town around the bylaws for the zoning? This is just out of the blue. All of a sudden we hear that there's going to be a pot growing facility and something I always assumed is just someplace I got for samples. This directly impacts our children, our school committee. Literally was just like, how do we reduce drug use?
Could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Dr. Elizabeth Ahern, 11 Florence Street.
Thank you. Would you like to address her question?
In terms of involving the public with the bylaw, that's all going to happen at public meetings.
And once the Attorney General throws his 2 cents in here, we're kind of...
Her 2 cents.
His, hers, whatever, you know?
Her 2
We're all
cents.
gender neutral. So, no matter what is passed now tonight, it's still, was that word moot? Is that the
It's a
right-
discussion tonight.
There's nothing passed.
There's no
action. It was an introduction by the applicant.
And theoretically, of the 35 licenses handed out, you might not be selected.
Yep.
Okay, but Mr. Chair, through you and to Mr. Napoli, it's your endeavor here tonight to share with the town the fact that you made that application 6 hours ago. Okay.
So my question to you is, we're not gonna be able to say there will be no facilities in Littleton, correct? We're not going to be able to ban them.
We may not ban them throughout Littleton.
Correct.
We must allow them somewhere.
So to answer your question, we're gonna have to deal with it
But we
some
can set
way.
up zoning to discourage this.
Correct, oh, that's what our zoning does, absolutely.
So when you say we're gonna have to allow this, we're gonna have to allow cultivation, or we're gonna have to allow some sort of,
Some sort of facility.
or are we gonna have all uses potentially in the bylaw?
The Attorney General's ruling on one of the communities that sought an outright ban was to reject it
Okay.
and say you cannot just ban it outright, you have to regulate it somehow.
All
And you
uses.
could regulate in location, allow it some places in town but not others. Have other restrictions, typically a site plan review would be associated as part of a local review process. Those sorts of things you can do. What you can't do is say that the use is outlawed in Littleton.
It's like a
or
cell
in
tower.
any town.
I have another question when you finish.
Go ahead, Ray. This young lady back there.
Yeah, Anne Marie, Chair of the Board of Health. I would like to just say that this is going to be a multi-board process. We are just beginning, and that we have a lot to learn from the other towns that have gone a little bit more before us, as well as we have a lot to do with just the work within town to research and figure it out. So we're just beginning. And it's not just the people in this room, it's going to be involve everybody, many more boards, and it's a long process.
Thank you.
So we need the patience as well, because it's not known. But if you are interested in learning more about this law, there's going to be a training at Devon's by DPH lawyers on the 19th of September, 10 a.m.
Got that down there, big fella? Ma'am?
Yes, just two questions. One, just to clarify, so is the Cup and Cup parcel that we're talking about, is it that parcel that's right across from Russell Street
Yes.
on King Street? Okay, and then the gentleman referred to like Fort Knox fortifications. That parcel is right on Beaver Brook. What would that Fort Knox thing look like? Is there gonna be like a 10-foot stone wall?
Oh, you had
out there?
guns.
No, when they brought this in front of us, it's like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yep.
This is not an outdoor cultivation site. It's a steel facility. It can't be planted in the ground. This is basically like,
Oh, it's like inside?
Inside greenhouse.
So is it in-house?
you won't even be able to see it.
It's not like pick your own.
Yeah, it's a I'm sorry.
Will it look like as it does now? or-
No, I mean, you can build it within the facility, but you're talking about, when he says it's over the top security, it's not.
So is there gonna be like a, 10-foot chain link fence around the site? I mean, what's
With,
it
like,
gonna look
barbed
Well, we'll
like?
ask you in a second, those were your two. Ma'am out back?
I'd still like to point out that this is also, as Joanne pointed out, on top of our watershed. So yes, while I understand it's a contained facility, it still could impact Beaver Brook and all the water sources we have. And again, it is a federal crime.
Yeah, we got that the first time.
People have
I just don't think people
Voted
understand.
for it.
Well, I think, if you want to address the ignorance of the crowd, you could ask them how many people feel the Wrigley. Raise your hand. All right, we're good there. Would you like to ask a question?
Sure. I know one of the issues was that the current facility of Cup Cup at 263 King Street is in a floodplain. And I know Myron has had some of that, and you may want to address that too. And who knows, you may want to also. I don't see the Concom here.
Well, yeah, we're talking about really using existing structures there. We're not talking about a lot of new construction. The greenhouses that are already there are good to go with minor renovations to the inside and the interior. We're not talking about building new structures at all here. As far as the security goes, yeah, you probably want to put a fence around the property. And there's going to be cameras, and there's going to be alarms, and there's going to be keypad entry, and no one's going to be able to get in who isn't allowed to get in.
And with new floodplain maps, Myron, do you want to say anything what you've seen there, or either of you?
Same mapping as before.
Okay, and how close is the edge of the floodplain to the facility? Just curious.
Are these things being grown in 5-gallon buckets primarily around raised beds, that type of thing? They're not just-
Yeah, it's, I
So-
mean, it's required to be an organic grow, so you're probably not gonna do it hydroponically, you're gonna do it in, yeah. Okay.
Chief Kelly, you have any concerns?
I have some concerns with you.
We'll talk about that in the morning.
At this time, I'm also being educated about it, educated about the security requirements.
Thank you. Any other questions? Young lady?
I have a two-part question. One is, I'm curious if it's your desire to go forward with this project if you're not welcomed by us as a community. Is it your desire to pursue that anyway? I am concerned about physical proximity to schools, no matter which cup and cup parcel you look at. You're talking about a property here that's not far from our high school, and 3 out of our 4 school facilities are within a stone's throw of that plant that you want, or facility. And my other question is, it's fine to talk about maybe you can control this within the building, but once that's done, you're going to transport that. And what is the security around the transport and the processing or whatever else needs to be done before it leaves our town?
Yeah, no, this isn't the only town we're looking at for cultivation centers, and yeah, we would like to be welcomed by the town, and we're not gonna come into a town and just force our way in there. There's several greenhouses. I mean, there's obviously a lot of greenhouses in the state of Massachusetts, and a lot of people would like to rent them to someone like me, who is, you know, we pay a little bit more than the average price for a greenhouse for something like this. So there is a lot of people interested, and there's a lot of towns interested. If the town of Littleton absolutely doesn't want to have it, we definitely do not have to do it here. It's something that we're proposing that, you know, could possibly bring economic activity and jobs to a town. And it's a nonprofit that has to run this, so we are also, you know, whatever town we're going to end up in, there's going to be a nonprofit angle where we're going to be able to help the town out. And, you know, we talked to the town about how they best want to be helped out in that way, once profits are generated, to do something to give back to the town. And as far as the delivery security, that's also very robust. 2 drivers, secure lockbox in the car, constant monitoring, live monitoring, and you're talking about, you know, usually small amounts as far as the delivery goes.
As in pounds?
Well, you know, we really,
He's
it's hard to say exactly what we're going to be selling per day, but yeah, you probably look at a max of 2 or 3 pounds per delivery.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions, young man?
Yeah, what happens to Cup and Cup Nursery? All the security, all gone?
Well, you know, we'd still be able to use farmland over there and everything. It's just within the greenhouses, so the farmland is
You can still go in and buy plant?
Yeah, we haven't totally worked that out yet, you know, like we're just in the beginning phases of finding out where it's possible to do this as well.
Okay, good. Can we move this along?
One question.
One final question?
I just wonder, is there any additional revenue on this product? What's the tax revenue impact? Have we determined that? I mean, it's a different product, is there any different revenue?
I don't know how you,
Medicine is not taxable in the state of Massachusetts, so it's not a taxable thing. There's a lot of fees involved.
No, town revenue. So is there any additional new growth or anything that is this going to bring in any more taxes than a regular farm, I guess?
See, Ted, I was trying to craft a question that would segue on what you're trying to do. If this were to go forward, Chris, and could we create a special farm zone where it would be allowed? And could that special farm zone then be taxed at its own special rate?
No.
Spot taxing.
You could create a special zone. I don't believe you could tax it. Tax it differently.
You need the state's approval to do any changes with taxation.
This is the last question.
Thank you. I just wanted to know if the site has been decided upon. Is it the King Street site the only consideration at this time because of this proximity to the school on the Pickard Lane site?
That is correct.
Or is it still, there's still some flexibility there? from your standpoint?
I'd love for there to be some flexibility, I'm not sure we have any.
That's not town property.
And then I guess to the board, the woman's question in the back had to do with school zones, a distance. And I think federal law dictates that you have to be 1,000 feet from a school or a playground or any of those public sites. Is that your intention to look at that before June 14th and figure out that distance?
Well, yeah, that's gonna be one of the things we'll have to address, but it's also, you said, public. Now, the Montessori school is not public, it's a private paid school, isn't it?
It's any school.
It's any school.
Any school, any place where children congregate.
It's actually any school, park, playground, or public gathering area.
Thank you. Okay. Can we move to close?
She had a question. It's really just a comment. The people in our neighborhood who might have been affected by this only heard of this yesterday. I saw absolutely nothing in the paper on it today. So I'd like to see some more transparency of what's going on. I mean, literally, we had 1 day's notice of this.
Can I speak to that? Yeah, this is transparency, this is bringing it out, there's no secret meetings like the casino or anything that people were accused of. This is, we just found out and it's being brought in here now, so this is about the most transparency that you can see. And also, there's gonna be public hearings that are gonna be advertised as required.
In other words, there's some clandestine things going on that you
We
can tell us
just
about.
met the applicant tonight.
Yeah.
It just happened today.
Appreciate this.
Yeah, so actually, this is quite good. It was as soon as it happened. Actually, there was an article today in the Lowell Sun about this. There was an article yesterday in the Lowell Sun about this. But still, there needs to be outreach. You're absolutely right, there needs to be outreach.
Yeah, we are actually preemptively addressing this by putting up that moratorium last spring
Yes.
and having town council work aggressively with the state to try to craft a zoning bylaw that will provide the town of Littleton's residents the best security we can get.
Your follow-up, ma'am?
It is a follow-up to that question. First, I would like to applaud the town for being proactive and setting up this period in which they can study with all the constituents a way to craft something that would be in the best interest of everybody involved. As a follow-up to the 1,000-foot setback in federal statute and the 500-foot setback from schools, nursery schools, playgrounds, it seems to be the state statute. I was wondering if town council had any comment on precedent that has been set in other states that have had similar situations like Colorado and Oregon, where there were dispensaries set up that ended up being grandfathered and were able to be at a closer distance than the 1,000 feet from schools and preschools. And when local municipalities allowed those to be grandfathered, the federal government actually came in and enforced the local statute. So I wonder if you have a comment about.
We've only given town council, since the application was only filed today, and we've had a moratorium up, in place till now, we haven't given town council a green light to run up a lot of legal bills on hypothetical questions.
So we don't know yet.
So we have,
that
no,
happened.
so those are certainly issues we can look into, but frankly, until an application got filed today with our name on it, it was hypothetical questions, so.
Thank you very much. It's
Sure.
informative and progressive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
I move to close this.
Well, it's up to them.
Oh.
It's up to them.
I'm not done.
You like it, huh?
It needs to be on the agenda.
It's not on your agenda? Oh, you guys, oh.
Are we done?
Oh.
Well, we need
Skip something.
we need to set up a conversation.
There's one other item going. Oh, we can do that later.
We're gonna.
We still have a meeting going on. Quiet, please. Thank you.
We'll chat about some ways we can work on this.
I want to get out. I don't like the old work.
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks again for the time, and I'll try to make it quick. During its annual goal-setting process this year, the Board of Selectmen adopted a lot of goals in a lot of areas. I've been meeting with the specific boards to whom some of those goals apply.
Hey, if you're gonna talk, please go outside.
And in the case of the planning board, there really were a number of goals that the selectmen would like to undertake, but since they're your purview, we wanted to have the opportunity to discuss them with you and to see which ones you wanted to proceed with. And there is a list I had supplied. We can go through specifically the ones that pertain to the planning board, but what I first wanted to mention is that there were two, or actually three committees that the board has established, which also have some overlapping jurisdiction to what are planning issues. One of them is the Economic Development Committee, the other is the Housing Committee, and the third is the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. There are specific goals that are being assigned to each of those three appointed committees, but we haven't appointed the members of the committees yet. We're interviewing, we have a lot of applications. We'll be interviewing and making appointments to those committees on September 9th. But the things that those committees are being assigned are ones that typically there's been some kind of representation from the planning board on. And it was my hope when I asked for time in early August that I would hope that the planning board members would be interested in working with those committees, especially on economic development, which we do. We've been doing that together for many years. And also for housing, that there are some housing strategies that would ultimately lead to zoning bylaw changes and so forth. The same is true of economic development. The third area, Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, actually we're asking for some time on your agenda on September 12th, if you can squeeze it in that busy evening, to talk about something called the Complete Streets Policy, which is a proposal that MAPC has approached us about. They say they have grant funding to have their staff work with communities that are interested in promoting so-called complete streets, which is, it's jargon, but the term means essentially that rather than having your public ways just be about moving traffic quickly, that you look at all the users of the road, multimodal, stuff like that, including bicycle, pedestrian, mass transit, and those sorts of things. So to be able to move populations around other than by automobile.
That's a great idea.
So those are just in general some of the broad brush of other topics. The specific goals that would, I think, pertain to the planning board, one is the development of a sidewalk improvement plan, for which we'd specifically like to be working with the planning board, and where that comes up in subdivision reviews of yours, or comes in other discussions when we are doing rehab of roadways. Right now, we've identified Russell Street and Shaker Lane as areas that we'd like to look at. There may be others as well that you who deal with permitting the activities that connect the streets all the time may have some thoughts on where sidewalks may be needed. Another goal of the selectmen is to review the status of the proposed sign bylaw amendment with the planning board, and where that was, we got to a certain point a couple of years ago, and the board would like to have a discussion about what do we do? Do we leave it in the top drawer where it is, or do we move towards bringing that forward to a town meeting? So that's another one. Review development of a quarry closure plan, another oldie but goodie. We set up a quarry committee a couple of years ago, and I think through by inertia, the body remains at rest. So we haven't. So we wanted to be able to have a discussion this year about whether to resurrect that effort or not. A big one, and which definitely can't be done without your lead, is that there was an expression of interest in updating the master plan, which was last updated officially in 2002. And while we would certainly not be able to undertake a master plan this year, that if the planning board were of a mind to actually have the master plan updated, then we would need to work together on what kind of funding did we need to have in place, who would do it. I mean, we'd love to, you'd have to bring in typically consultants or outside facilitators or something. It takes a long time and a commitment of time. But we can't do it. We can say that we would like to support it, but it's the master plan that the planning board adopts. So we want to put that on the table as something that we would like to discuss with you for this year. And then a last goal that was listed, explore rezoning the industrial B land in the depot area with affected property owners. That was a particular proposal that Joe had brought to the board and that was adopted. And so that's in the mix too for some discussion.
If I can explain, the one piece of land I'm talking about is right where the railroad tracks are and where the old train station is.
Oh.
There's a sliver there that starts at the railroad tracks and heads all the way down Taylor Street, right in the middle. My proposal would be take that first part from the train station all the way to Beaver Brook, just that area there, and remove it at industrial B back into business, because you have business on this side and actually business on the other side. The goal is to prohibit outside storage. And I know it won't change anything right now because of the present owner, but if the board could do something about that in the future and a new owner come in that didn't want that, then we could probably start cleaning up that area and not have that.
Talking about the steel.
They have all that stuff out there, so.
Are you talking about the stove? Goes from, which way is Beaver Brook, heading towards Boston or heading north?
Head towards
the real train depot. Towards the real depot.
On Taylor.
Just past
The real
Wickman Avenue.
depot is right near Very Fine, that's the.
Well, okay, the real train station, I'm sorry.
The MBTA station heading down.
Yeah, so it's
And how big is this sliver of land?
It starts out only as wide as from me to you, but then ends up probably being, maybe 200, maybe 100 yards wide.
Okay, and that's the one that goes all the ways to Route 2?
Yeah, but I'm only proposing, the Beaver Brook is almost like a Wickham Avenue.
All right.
Right where the VFW is.
Yeah.
Right across the street.
The
fence
place there. Is the fence place still in business?
So what would you do, just do like an overlay? So we would.
It has to be a rezoning.
Yeah, I didn't know how to do it, that's why I think rezone it to business. I've already talked to Dave, his concern was the value of his land. I told him, this being in real estate, I think his value would actually increase instead of industrial B. That was his only concern, I think he was satisfied with that. And I told him it wouldn't affect him right now because he's grandfathered.
Good. Yeah, that's for both worlds.
Okay, but,
Done?
Okay. So that's, we wanted to share the list with you, start a dialogue or discussion, don't need commitments. It's late, but we certainly didn't want to be going off implementing goals that pertain to you without your expression of interest.
Great ideas. One of the things that we did start years ago, and we should probably continue with it, is we had the sidewalk fund, so we could get, when we have developers come before us, we were getting money out of them to put into, in lieu of them putting a sidewalk in a subdivision where they didn't need it, to start trying to fund the sidewalk fund again. We could do that. We could look.
CM Park.
But you don't want to build any more subdivisions.
Well, CM Park is paying money for sidewalks.
Yeah, Sam, isn't Sam doing something with the Russell Street sidewalk?
$60,000.
Yeah.
We get the hump deal.
As far as,
Wait, is he actually, I thought he was committed to doing that sidewalk.
He is.
He's committed to contributing $60,000. We are to design it, and he will contribute $60,000.
He will fund it.
Up to $60,000.
$60,000 is the deal.
You put gold bricks in, he's
So
going
we're trying to design a $60,000 sidewalk.
Well, it's also gonna run us from,
But it's not, I guess my point is, it's not
Bridge.
$60,000 just going into a fund that gets
Right?
reappropriated for something.
can't do that for 60 grand,
It
something's
will be,
wrong.
it's specifically for the Russell Street.
Because I've heard comments in meetings here that, well, our sidewalk fund got reappropriated to somewhere else, that's why we don't have a sidewalk fund.
anymore.
Where did it get reappropriated to?
I
I don't know, when I got here
Maybe
6 years
it's-
ago, you didn't have one, so I don't, maybe it was all used before.
Right, you had one and it was used before, it was doing very well when you had a lot
I
of
didn't touch
residential
it.
development, but.
Right.
We don't have it
then
yet.
was-
Well, who took the money?
It was used by the highway department.
I think
to
you
build
should
sidewalks.
investigate.
You brought it up.
I'm just pointing
Ron
out that
just
we
said
have
there
one.
was.
Where'd it go?
Used by the highway department to build
Those
sidewalks.
sidewalks. We're good.
Well, let's just see
Depleted.
what appropriations were made
Well,
towards
we
that.
could,
Who
like I
approved
said,
them?
we could start doing that again.
I think we should put on your goals, how quick you're gonna pave New Estate Road. That's one of the things you should put on your goals.
It is, it's on the road plan.
It's on the road.
I heard it got
look
pushed
it up,
back.
Yeah.
How many times have you paved the Shober Road? The one through the swamp and raised it 3 or 4 feet every time.
All right, so why don't we,
That should be.
So let's stay in touch on this.
We should put
Right.
that on our
let's talk about it,
recommendation.
you're gonna be before us on the 12th.
You should have come in, we had a public hearing, we had 2 public hearings.
Dude, I can make so many
So
public
thanks for your
hearings.
time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
A couple of comments, Keith. We actually, I brought the signed bylaw back in front of this committee
Yeah.
2 meetings ago with the commitment that I'll bring it to hearing. And it looks like, not this fall, it'll probably be in the spring, but we'll get it to townspeople to vote on in the spring. It's done.
Well, we know some fine tuning was needed because we found some flaws.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
that-
drive-through signs aren't needed because we don't have drive-throughs.
And as far as the medical,
All of our banks.
the medical marijuana, why don't we start that as soon as we're done with the extensive recreation and the other, so we can.
Right after town meeting.
Do we have to have that in
Get
my
that going.
Well, it's gonna take a long
I
time.
also want to put in the accessory dwelling, change the.
June
change
30th.
the-
But it's gotta go to special town, it's gotta go to annual
Well,
town.
you have
That's
to,
May.
you have to have the medical marijuana bylaw really by mid-March when the
Right.
annual
Is
warrant
Chris,
closes.
Chris can handle most of that?
And what about master
Yeah, but we have to
plan?
decide
We gotta where,
what we
when.
want it to look like.
Yeah.
Where-
That's right,
It's
and you'll have a
so-
public, you know, and a lot of the questions that came tonight are properly directed to the series of public hearings
But we
that
should
we'll need to have.
all discuss,
Yeah.
should it be in a metal building? Should it be in commercial and not in agricultural land, so that we're not using.
think-
The AG might drive
Right,
that
I was
though.
just gonna say, the AG's gonna be driving the
All right, I
bus.
mean, we have to wait.
If they come down and say it's commercial agricultural,
Yeah.
all
Well,
bets
that's
off.
right.
That site's over 5 acres
So,
already.
you know,
So
that's-
it
Since
needs
we've
to-
adopted bylaws.
Where can we have it, where can we have adult entertainment?
If that's
We
the
can have that
requirement,
Sandville.
how many?
You want to know the best
blocks
place
are
to
we
put
gonna
that
have
thing is in that,
because
is in
I was
Sandville, a
on
concrete bunker.
I'd be growing pies.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean,
Because
seriously.
it's
But
gonna
you
be
would have to be
hydroponic
picked,
anyway.
right? And that was my question, was
And put a
this
pizza shop in Doritos,
lottery?
right next door.
You win,
Those
right?
licenses will be proxy licenses, and they will grow wherever they can get it.
Well, and you said as well, Keith,
like-
that
it's like-
every year they're adding 5 more, right? So you get 35 this year, and then you
35
get.
initially, and then they'll.
But you heard him say, he's gone out to multiple sites, so
Yeah.
you can have multiple locations in the same license.
Yep.
You know, franchise.
Yep.
Hey, franchise, like Mackey Do's.
It's like McDonald's.
You're like a license to steal. is what it's gonna be.
It's
Thank you.
big money.
We done?
You know, they went in front of the
Move to
SEC
close?
already. They want to securitize these
Yep.
operations. Make a
course
motion
they
to
do.
adjourn.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Opposed?
It's been used successfully in brain cancer treatment.
I'm not against it, I'm just.
Yeah.